start doing the like, "Are we ready to start?" thing. I, but I guess
As long as he has his mask on
here we are.
and there's nothing revealing out, then I
We
think
need
we're
to
good.
start like we need to have like a place in the dock where we can just like put little bits that we're doing, like
Once,
like maybe like one of us has a map behind us and we're like, and that's how we get all of the money. Like,
definitely. I mean, you've seen the. Oh, I don't know if you have. My server has the profile picture. Like my Discord server has a profile picture that's Charlie Day from Always Sunny,
oh
where he's
yeah,
like pointing at the map, and it's like
It's
all
like
like
going
tape and
crazy.
yeah. We've
it's
used
literally
that.
that.
We've used that for this Instagram post. It's it's a classic
It's
meme.
fun.
Anything with Charlie Day
Good show.
is fantastic. Oh yeah, It's Always Sunny is probably my second favorite sitcom of all time,
Really?
behind Community.
What's the first one? Okay,
Community.
obviously.
Yeah.
I should have known that.
Yeah,
6 seasons in a movie, baby.
dude. Yeah, but It's Always Sunny is
Where's that
also
movie?
incredible. I always wanted those two shows to cross over. I think it would have been effective and cool. Like,
How would that even work?
I have a spec script somewhere. Like,
You could find like an E pluribus anus flag in
Yeah.
like the background of a shot at the bar
yeah.
or something.
Where-
And Always Sunny.
Jeff and Dennis have to have a psycho off.
I can see that work.
Oh my god!
Troy and Rob are definitely doing karate together.
Frank
like-
meets
Pierce.
what's it? Pierce, dude.
Shirley should be in love with Frank. Like, like
I cannot believe you guys actually thought of all this.
Yeah,
Like, that is ridiculous.
yeah,
I appreciate it though.
yeah. All right. How was your week?
Did we
everybody?
start?
Yeah.
Oh, we did start.
Yeah, no, we're recording.
Okay, bet.
Week
Good.
was decent. Yeah.
How's everyone doing? This is weird now.
About to
God
say,
damn it, intro music. God damn it. Like,
So, disclaimer before we get started, I've been sick this week, so if my voice sounds silly or if I sound louder or quieter than usual, I can't really hear all that well. The bass is gone from my hearing, so just so you know.
I'm going to go
Goodness.
in and pitch change every second of dialogue you have so you sound like
just
a
to throw
Brockhampton
everyone
hook.
off.
Like,
Yeah, it'll be like Rick Astley edit, never gonna hit those notes.
yeah, exactly.
But yeah,
Perfect.
we can go. Let's go with the news this week then. Starting with the albums. Well,
It's
really,
3
there's
EPs.
right.
Yeah,
We have Redville, who actually just had his 19th birthday recently.
yeah.
He's been on my radar for the upcoming artists, and his last album was phenomenal. I am excited.
I've been checking him out. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
Redville's really cool.
He's impressed me like
Yeah.
a lot. We also have Meek Mill. There's been a bunch of music videos dropping recently. All of them are like called Too Much Motion, episode 1 or episode 2
That's
or
weird.
something like that. And I believe an EP is coming out for it.
That's real weird.
So I'll take it, I guess. And then the last one, which I'm most excited about, Swizz Beats.
Hip Hop
Is
Volume
dropping-
2. Hip Hop 50
Yes.
Volume 2. Did you listen to Volume 1 last year?
I did not. I missed
Oh,
it
I
completely.
listened to it, dude. It was incredible. Yeah, it was it had Lil Wayne, Slick Rick, Rhapsody, Run the Jewels, Joey Badass. They were all on it.
Mhm.
So,
So I'm excited.
Yeah, no,
to
it
see
was-
what comes because like the features always come hard.
yeah.
So far, what's been confirmed is Jay-Z and Lil Wayne, and I can only imagine
Yeah.
they're all going to be at that tier.
Yeah, no, it's insane. I'm very excited for this.
Hmm
I was a big fan of Volume 1 last year. I think it was on my if it wasn't on my honorable mentions, it was like one I took off for the Golden Nugget.
Okay, makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Jasper, do you know anything about Swizz Beats and
Yeah.
any of the other stuff?
Not super familiar, no.
No,
I
yeah.
got you.
Yeah. Well, hip hop is turning 50 this year, or was it last year? One of the two.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is weird to think about how
Yeah.
far we've come.
It's weird. It's weird how like long it's been and also like how young it is, right? Like movies are another like very recent art form and they've been around for 100 years.
Right.
You know, photography's been around for 200 years, you know. theater's been around for 2,000 years, things like that. It blows your mind when you think about it.
Honestly, I've never thought about it that way. But it
Yeah.
is a very interesting perspective because like
No.
there's a lot of
Yeah.
crazy things going on in the culture right now.
Yeah.
Like things we haven't had to deal with in the past, and like just to think like we're
Yeah.
just getting started. What's coming up next?
Yeah.
Yeah, the first photograph was taken in 1826, and
Wow,
so we're coming up on the 200-year anniversary of the medium.
that's insane.
Yeah.
Yep.
We all walk around with professional cameras in our pockets now.
Yeah.
In comparison, the first ever photo was taken by a scientist designing or developing the technology, and it's just like a photo out the window
Yeah. It's like a.
from his family's house.
Yeah.
Now, bear with me because I'm not the photography person. Are we literally talking about probably like you go under the curtain type of photography thing?
100%. Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
It
and it
was-
was even
It was
before
larger.
that.
It was like the size
Yeah.
of a room.
Yeah, they
Like-
used to be really
what?
big
Yeah. Like
because the way it.
camera
Yeah,
mechanism. Yeah. It was the same basic technology of like focusing light with mirrors and
Mhm.
bouncing it onto something photosensitive. But back then, like we were doing it on a scale of like rooms, right? So like you needed
That
an
is
entire
ridiculous.
dark room to like illuminate things, right? So
Mhm.
that old time
You said an entire dark room.
more or less, like an entire room. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
basically like the camera was a room. It was huge.
so, and even before that, the idea of the camera obscura had been around for 300 plus years. So in the 1500s, the idea that a a light source traveling and impacting on a small surface area like a hole in a wall then can create a flipped or transitioned image. So there are places, there are museums you can go to where there's like it's basically a dark room. You step in, there's a little hole in the wall with a lens, and it captures the outside world, and then basically beams it in, reflects it, and projects it on the wall as an art piece. And so that concept has been around since the 1500s, and then it was in the 1800s when they actually took it and were able to basically convert that process to apply light to a photosensitive film that creates the image, because
That's insane.
it's the process of light altering chemicals to basically reproduce the exact image that would be reflected through the lens. And today we do it with like a sensor that is exposed to light and basically does something the same thing where it translates that into bits and bytes.
That's insane. Whoever thought of all this is like, sorry. Just to like think of all that, like someone actually sat down and did all this.
Yeah,
That's insane to me.
that's what humans do. We just figure things out. We just tinker. We're just
Now,
like
I actually do have one question because both of you are like the camera experts, and it just dawned on me as we were talking about this. Both of you said dark rooms. I know
Mhm.
this might sound stupid, but is that why, like, back in the day when you took photos and you print them, you went to a literal dark room?
yeah, it's because like the rooms are lit with red light because it doesn't expose the photosensitive film. When I first got into photography, it was in a high school photography class, and we had a dark room. I learned how to develop like I
That's
actually
dope.
have some of the pictures that I developed with like film, like developed myself. I did like double exposure and stuff like that. Like it, yeah, like that's why you do it. You do it in a room like that because it just doesn't develop the film. And like once the film touches light, like it's done.
Yeah. So when you think about like a disposable camera, right? When you click that shutter, you're literally firing a flash that's hitting objects that you're looking at, and then that light is being bounced back as the sensor opens, and when the sensor opens, it's letting enough of that light through to create an image on this film that's photosensitive, and then it closes again immediately, because if it overexposes, it just becomes all white because too much light is being captured to show the subject. So then that sealed roll has to be taken into a dark room to be developed.
Yeah.
Okay, bet.
Yeah.
That's actually really dope. I'm sorry. It just
Yeah.
I went on a tangent because like I just got a camera recently too, and like I clearly don't know enough.
Yeah.
But moving on to like the singles and stuff, there's a ton
Yeah,
of singles
ton of
coming out.
stuff.
We have, I think, the biggest announcement. The Weekend is back featuring Future,
Yeah.
coming out with Double Fantasy.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea what this might be? Is
This,
this more of like
this is
what
a
he's been
run up
working
for the
on?
TV show. This
Okay,
is
okay.
from the TV show.
The one that you said is coming out this summer
Yeah,
or something
the
like
Idol.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
So I'm obviously it's the Weekend in Future. They make a bunch of music together. It's always really good. Like
That's true. This is technically the toxic king of R&B and the toxic king of hip hop.
yeah,
It's
it
like
is.
working together.
And it looks like it's going to be a very toxic show. The toxic king of
It's
TV,
fitting.
Sam Levinson, the creator of Euphoria. Like,
Wow, this was perfectly put together.
this is going to kill people. Like,
All they need is like Andrew Tate dancing in the background of a music video.
hold
and it'll be
on, I don't
complete.
think any of these people are sex traffickers. Like,
Hey, I meant toxic personality, but that's also valid.
like, I don't
He
think
is both.
I don't think Future has money in Romanian casinos.
Yeah, no. I don't think they're
Maybe
doing
he
any of that
does.
stuff.
That'd be sick. Like, it'd be sick when Future does it. Like,
It's only cool when he does it.
No,
Obviously.
Future is very clearly invested in keeping places like Santorini just as absolutely white as possible. Just the whitest stucco you've ever seen in your life.
Look, I'm pretty sure all his money in reality is in the Atlanta strip club.
yeah.
So
Oh, definitely.
we're just gonna settle on that.
Checks out.
Checks out.
Um,
Love that.
We also have The Alchemist and Domo Genius coming out with no idols. I might be confused because I did see it trending and on my radar, but is this technically an old mixtape that's finally coming to streaming?
I have no idea. I possibly. Let me look it up.
Seeing the words Domo Genesis printed has got me feeling like Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like,
Oh yeah.
that is a name I have not heard in a long
Yeah.
time.
No. This was a
Yep.
was a mixtape that was originally dropped in 2012 by Odd Future.
Okay.
Yeah,
Bet.
that checks
And
out.
it worked on with The Alchemist.
I am
So
very, very excited for that.
oh yeah, no, this has oh my god, this has features out the wazoo. Multiple
real?
Earl Sweatshirt features.
I mean,
Vince-
yeah, it's Odd Future, of course.
Vince Staples, multiple Action Bronson features.
I
Freddie
love that.
Gibbs,
Love
like,
that.
Space Ghost Perp, like
Whoa. Okay.
yeah, no, this
This
I-
just moved up to my
this-
top of
yeah,
my
this
radar.
missed me the first time around, so I'll yeah, shit, oh my god,
Right, bet. So yeah, I'm super excited for that. We also have Mike Dimes coming out with Off the Porch featuring Maxo Cream and Big X the Plug. Super excited for all that very upbeat music. He's been on the rise just in general, so I'm ready for more.
yeah,
We have Armani White featuring ASAP Ferg, which I have not heard in forever.
yeah.
Coming out
I-
with the song Silver
dude,
Tooth.
It was almost one of my wrecks this week, but
Really?
dude, while I was driving around when the weather was nice this past summer, not this past weekend. God damn, it feels like this past summer. And it's like, what came on? Work remix?
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, God damn,
It-
this
it's
song
hard.
goes so hard.
It is hard. That was out, Click was out, and like a couple other stuff.
Oh
Like
my
all those
God.
songs were just like, this is the anthem.
Yeah.
The raging anthem.
God, we didn't know what we had.
Till it's gone. Another thing I want to go over.
Oh, I also liked
It's-
Armani White's last single, so I'll be listening.
I was about to say featuring
Denzel.
Denzel. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, two more things that are coming out. I paired them together. Tia is coming out with Freaky T featuring Lotto, and also Lotto's putting out her own song, Put It on the Floor. Super excited for both of these. Freaky T has already been charting like crazy and having another powerful black female artist
Yeah.
on your like.
I've never
remix
heard
is
of Tia
exciting.
Corinne. Yeah.
It's. I'm sure you've heard Freaky T. You just
Possibly.
realize it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
almost certainly.
I don't know. It hit me earlier today, and it's like, it's something like we've kind of brought it up. It's interesting that we brought it up at the beginning of this podcast, but like hip hop is only 50 years old, and this has to be like the most positive time period for like a female artist.
Oh, in the
hip-hop.
last 5 years, 100%.
Like it's amazing. There's
What a-
so many of them. They all work together. Like
Yeah.
it's awesome.
I think it's important to remember that hip hop was probably better for women in the 90s than it was in the 2000s. But at the same time, yeah, I agree. I think right now is the golden era, though.
Yeah.
Like,
Everyone can get in on it. There's so
it's
many
been
people.
really, really quite well.
Hmm.
Ugh.
And honestly, all of the labels out there has at least one star female.
Yeah,
TDE has SZA,
yeah,
Dreamville has Ari.
yeah. Some
Like
of
it
those
just
are
kind of
R
goes
and
down
B
the
though.
list. That is true. That is true.
Yeah, SZA and Ari are definitely R&B artists.
Yeah. You have Nicki with Young Money technically.
Yeah, I think
So
she's still with Young Money. I'm not sure. Who knows with Nicki
I don't know.
Minaj?
I mean,
Where
Young
did
Money is like all 40 plus now. So
Yeah.
where did Teyana Taylor end up?
Is she still in
Because
good music?
technically she was
well,
with
no,
good music, right?
no, because good is basically fallen apart, hasn't it?
Well, yeah, now I think it's
Yeah,
falling
now
apart.
it's like
But
more
I
or
think
less.
she was
She
with them,
was
right?
with good, but I'm wondering if she
Okay.
like moved somewhere else. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I don't know. Is she still making music?
I have no idea.
She was in a movie, actually. We
Really?
were at the
Yeah,
theater for Air.
she's gonna be in the new White Men Can't Jump.
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
that's dope.
she was it was some indie movie, had a poster at it wasn't that. It was something like featuring her. It had a poster up at the theater when we went to see Air.
I'm not too sure. I
Yeah.
must have missed it.
God, Tiana Taylor's great too.
Love of my life.
Yeah.
We've all seen the music video.
Yeah, we've all
It's-
seen the music
yeah.
video. Ugh.
I'm no greater than Anyway, let's talk about Killer Mike, Brandon.
Yeah. Yo, this track, the rollout for this track was a roller coaster for me. Because
I already knew you were probably at home like losing it.
dude, yeah, because last night Killer Mike and the Run the Jewels account on TikTok, they posted like teasers for the SBs that dropped. And in the background was like an unreleased song, and it's this song,
Mhm.
right? But like I had never heard it. It sounds like a Run the Jewels song because it is produced by LP. By the way, the production is a collab between LP and No ID, and
I know.
it's the best beat of the year. I'm sorry. Like I'm sorry. Like
We're changing the verse to both of them. It's the best beat of the year.
It's the best beat of the year. Like it's so good.
I am excited for this.
Yeah.
I've seen some of the features
Yeah.
and just like what he could do himself.
Yeah. And then
Jesus.
yeah, I'm excited. I listened to the song. It's out. It goes super hard. It
Mhm.
does like sound like a Run the Jewels song though. That's the only thing is that like there's been a few singles releasing for this Michael album,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought they were fine. I wasn't in love with them. This one I like a lot more, but it sounds like
Run the Jewels.
It sounds like Run the Jewels. It doesn't sound like his solo stuff
Yeah.
usually. But
And this solidifies that there's no Run the
Yeah.
Jewels 5.
well, I don't know about that because like
You
this
think so?
morning, and this was the other thing, like when it's like the development of like this track release, I go on TikTok in between meetings and I see a video from Killer Mike, and he's talking about this song, and he's like talking about how he had to step away from Run the Jewels 5 to make Michael because he had to do something that he felt like he couldn't do in Run the Jewels. And this song was kind of like a piece of goodwill from LP being like, I support you to go do your own thing. I'll even come do a feature and produce a song for it. Right.
Dope.
So I think that's just like a really cool sentiment. I think it resulted in an incredible song. And yeah, I think there's still hope for RTJ5. I think RTJX is probably the biggest indicator that could happen.
In addition to that, and this is the first time I ever had something to contribute to Run the Jewels news, the Nike sneakers app had a behind the design featuring both of them for the two shoes that released this morning.
Send that to me. I want
to. And for sure, in their discussion, it's like kind of like the Instagram story format, but through the sneakers app. But in the discussions that they're having, LPs describing like design details on the shoes and everything that they mean to them, and then basically concludes it saying, yeah, we love working together and we're going to continue working together.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I can see it coming.
Yeah, no, they've already confirmed that they're going at least 2 more albums. So like I'm not worried. I just would if I could Run the Jewels 5 this year. Jesus Christ. I will be
It's going to be a crazy year for you.
If Run the Jewels 5 and Travis Scott releases within 3 months of each other, I will go into cardiac arrest. It will be the Cranked movie.
So I'm highly concerned for your health. That's
Yeah.
all I'm gonna say.
All we need is more Travis on stage wearing those sun goggles that he was
Yeah.
wearing
Yeah.
when he performed
Bring him
Mafia.
back.
Yeah.
Let's go.
But yeah, no,
Let's go.
this was a dope song, really dope sentiment behind it. And also, Jeff McHugh, if you're watching this, I hate you because you got the lows.
You got him?
Yeah, he got the lows.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
Dude,
nice.
I was quick this morning. I got on right
I
at 9
believe
for
you.
the highs.
I believe you.
But SBs, the thing about SBs is that they come out in really limited numbers on the app because they go to skate shops too.
Yeah,
So it's possible that like local shops are going to do raffles for them.
yeah,
But
That's
it's
true.
just like it's tough.
yeah.
Resale may not be too crazy either, to be honest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The rule for that is shoe comes out, wait 7 days. That will probably be when it's at or around its lowest because that's generally when people start to get their pairs in, and then prices start to fall on the apps because people are starting to ship them to sell.
No.
Yep.
All right.
We're gonna get you some. We're gonna get you some.
It's okay. I appreciate that, but it's okay. It's like a really expensive shoe.
Fine.
All
Move
right.
on to actual news.
Let's talk about the news. Yeah.
Okay. So starting off, we have Chance the Rapper. Now, I don't want to get my hopes up too much and overhype it, but like he made that Instagram post about having people text the number.
Yeah, and I did.
And like
I
the
did.
screw. I did too.
It's like you have to sign up for something. I was like, this is kind of sketch, but
yeah.
There's a 50-50 chance I ditch this number in a couple months. So
Right.
He did the same shit for a social works promotion a while back.
Okay.
yeah.
And probably you never use that number anymore. So like after a week, it's just not going to matter. But what is going to matter is what it's supposed to represent is the Acid Rap Tour or something along those lines. He said that you want to text the number, you get the first update. So please, all the concerts we're going to this year.
I would love Acid. Just put that. My tab's at
He
0,
better not play anything else but Acid Rap.
You're allowed 4 songs off Coloring Book.
He's gonna play Slip Slide by Donnie Trumpet and Social Experiment 8 times in a row, and then he's gonna leave.
I'd be okay.
All I
with
can
that.
hear is just the horns in my ears now. Yeah, I'm excited for all that.
Tour, dude, because it's a 10-year. It's a 10-year.
That will actually make up for the falling of Frank Ocean wanting to be my number one.
Oh my god,
that would make up for it, honestly.
Jesus Christ, I cannot wait until that. If you're watching this, you know that.
Prepare yourself.
Sharing the headline with the Yeet concert these two went to is
no. This is more. This is way more than that.
Frank,
this is more important.
Frank Ocean Gate.
We may not talk about Yeet. But anyway,
moving on.
Right.
Yeah.
We have Jay-Z also performing for the Louis Vuitton show in Paris. I don't know the last time he's been on stage, but that's super hype.
Yeah.
It was interesting.
I'll take it, honestly. I don't know what he would have performed or anything like that.
Probably,
there's no way.
444. Yeah.
No,
the most recent.
It's from what I saw in the video. The majority of the stuff he did was like collab songs with Kanye off of like Watch the Throne and stuff.
Really?
Oh wow.
Yeah, he did he did stuff off of Watch the Throne. He did Fellas in Paris.
Yeah, they are in Paris.
And then he did a couple others too. But like the videos that I saw, I don't know if he did more, but a lot of it was like collab stuff like that.
But
yeah,
I'll take it.
Yeah, no, I mean, oh man, I once had the opportunity to see Jay-Z, and I wasn't able to. I should have. You're right. I should have. It was the Watch the Throne tour.
Really?
Yeah, I couldn't get off work. Hype. Yeah.
Okay. What's this, Jasper? Let's just jump to you. What you're typing? What is this?
No. We'll go in order.
Well, the AI thing, I feel like is going to be bigger. Well, I already said it, so.
Fair. This is kind of quick. Basically, I forgot about this until just now. Kanye West was spotted out in the wild attending the Fear of God performance new fashion show that took place like think it was yesterday, with Jerry Lorenzo, longtime kind of collaborator partner. And the reason it's impactful is because Jerry Lorenzo is the new, I believe he's the creative head of Adidas basketball as of like 2 years ago, and they haven't released anything yet. But basically, Kanye used to be Adidas. Jerry is currently Adidas. Jerry has a new signature shoe coming out with them, and Kanye was there to see the event. There was photos of them, you know, shaking hands, doing their thing. Do with this information what you will, but it happened like just recently, so I figured I'd throw it in here as well.
Well, I'm about to say it might be a good lead up to 2 weeks from now or something like that.
Yeah, we'll see.
When we finally have our debate.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we have a Kanye teasing everybody. 3 weeks from now, there's going to be a Kanye episode.
It's going to be the ending of all the Kanye episodes.
A Kanye,
maybe
a yay-sode, if you will. But yeah, no, I have no idea what to do with that information.
There's no way he's gonna work with Adidas again.
I really, really don't think so. I don't.
It doesn't make sense logically.
Yeah, I did not know Kanye was still going out in public. I thought he was like
that is also true. I thought he was like dead.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a while where it was like, is this guy dead?
We actually questioned it for real.
Yeah.
We had a legitimate conversation wondering if somebody killed him.
Yeah.
Purvis, your go-to line is, "I'm just here so I won't get fined." Mine is going to be, "Thank you, Jonah Hill," or "Thank you, Jonah Hill. I love you."
Yep.
God.
It fits.
It's a good movie, but I don't know if it's that good.
It's not. Spoiler alert.
The
it's
whole
not.
race.
Ooh.
But moving on to, I think, the second biggest piece of news that we're going to cover, we have, and it's really a twofer. For those who do not know or may not be in tune to what's going on, AI is making its presence known.
Yeah.
Within the hip hop industry.
And art in general. But
and just art in general. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, in music, definitely.
I think right now it's hot in music for the past week or so. There's a very wide range of opinions on the subject, but it's come to not necessarily a peak, but it's come to a situation now where there is a song called Heart on My Sleeve out. It is created by someone underneath the title of Ghostwriter. And essentially what this song is, it's taking a verse or song that this individual actually wrote. It was not AI generated.
Mm-hmm.
They wrote the lyrics, but they did use AI to have the chorus and verse be underneath Drake's voice and The Weeknd's voice. So if you are interested, pause the video, go listen to it, just get your own opinion on it. Because it looks pretty real. But because of this, there's also been lawsuits are now in place underneath UMG. Now, Jasper, I know you read the article. What's going on with the lawsuit?
So right now it's not actually a lawsuit. Basically, UMG has sent out, I guess they're like request letters. It's kind of like a cease and desist, but it's not directly the platforms that are the ones who are being told to do this. Basically, streaming platforms are being told by UMG, including Spotify and Apple Music, that they need to block AI services and machine learning services from accessing their databases. So a lot of times when a machine learning algorithm is taught how to replicate something or create something, it does it through training data. And what's happening right now is that training data gets scraped from somewhere, whether it's audio files, lyrics, images, any kind of raw source material. And so UMG is basically saying to these companies, do not allow ML systems to access our copyrighted content that is, present on your platform, which is in many ways ridiculous. Sure, the platforms can do this, but anyone who wants to train a model will be able to do it regardless. All you would need to do is literally play a song into a program, and you can just, as long as you have Spotify or whatever, you can just do it, and you can train it that way off of the actual audio. And there are lots of concerns around intellectual property rights going forward, like we kind of touched on a couple weeks ago or last week. One thing that's funny in the article that I noticed is that The second paragraph says UMG, which controls about a third of the global music market, has become increasingly concerned about AI bots using their songs to train themselves to turn out music that sounds like popular artists.
Mm-hmm.
And sure, copyright infringement to an extent that it impacts someone's livelihood is a red flag. But you know what's a bigger red flag? UMG owning 1/3 of the global music market. That, for me, that's a bigger issue than a lot of other stuff in this article. But with that aside, yeah,
I
they're
do honestly that part I do agree with,
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
especially if they own that much.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I'm like also a socialist. So it's like
Sure. I mean,
yeah.
it's one of those things you don't really realize the scale. But the fact that UMG is specifically going out of their way to target this represents the fact that their lawyers, their legal teams see this as a legitimate threat or alternative to the actual music that is produced and copyright protected. And that Drake verse sounds like Drake. And the fact that they're going out of their way to copyright strike and take down pretty much everything, every link to this particular song, Heart of My Sleeve, shows that we're trending in the direction of these tools are going to continue to get better. We're going to see more stuff like this continue to happen. And I mean,
I'm
it's a
genuinely
case.
curious
Yeah.
because I'm not going to say that I'm happy that they did this, but I'm definitely not upset. And the reason I say that is just because it's a very dangerous tool right now.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm just I'm a little concerned how they're going to use the tools, I guess, or use the AI going forward. Just because it is kind of scary. If you've listened to the song, like you said,
Yeah.
it sounds like Drake.
Yeah.
Like it sounds like Drake. And so I feel like it takes away from the legacy of any artist, not even just Drake, but
Yeah.
anyone who's impacted by this. It kind of diminished their picture and what they feel, or like their presence. I feel like
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
it almost feels like an invasion on privacy, because in reality, it's one thing if the AI wrote the lyrics, but like someone's literally writing this lyrics and stealing the
The
identity
voice.
of Drake.
Yeah.
They're stealing the voice.
That's fair. I think it is there's going to be a spectrum to it. It's going to be a lot more difficult to do this for certain artists, and it's going to be a lot easier to do it for others. Like we listened to that song, was it last week or 2 weeks ago? The one
The one
featuring
with
the
Jay-Z.
Jay-Z verse, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And that one, it was pretty discernible that it was AI, just given the tonality of it not really matching his delivery, things like that. I think that this is going to push artists who operate in a space that is a little more generic to branch out and to develop sounds that are going to be harder to imitate. And I think in this case, Drake is kind of the prime candidate for this. The really like monotone flow
Mhm.
is something that an AI is going to have no trouble replicating. So I think it's going to do everybody a service if
Watch
this
out,
kind of thing.
Nav.
Yeah, facts. It's gonna do. It's gonna be a. It's gonna be a
I
service
would
to
rather
everybody.
listen to
if
Nav
this-
over AI music any day of the week, Purvis. Don't worry. Don't worry. But like,
Thank you for saying that. I appreciate that.
but also I
I'm-
wasn't joking. Like
I just have a question then, and
Mhm.
I guess it's based on you all's opinions. Because let's be honest, this is a conversation that like we've been meaning to have for a while. We just
Mhm.
haven't been able to bring it up. If they were to, because like you said, in terms of blocking access to the machine learning tools, so like the only point of reference I have for that, like I play Rocket League, I play a ton of Rocket League. It's probably the most played game I've ever had.
Mhm.
It's just came across its first situation since its existence, which is multiple years old, where there are actual bots in the game. Some programmer learned how to bot a literal player into a competitive 3v3 game. And these games are ranked, it depends on your skill, everything like that. And so since they're able to run it on the online servers constantly, within a month, it's gotten 1 billion hours worth of gameplay. It knows every mechanical move, it's learned everything it needs to know. But
Yep.
you know it's a bot because it can't fly. Like the
Huh.
one aspect in the game, you got to be able to
Interesting.
do aerials and be in the air. The robot can do everything. It flicks perfectly, it jumps perfectly, it hits the ball exactly where it needs to go without hesitation, taking the other team and its teammates into consideration and where they're doing it. But it can't fly.
Yet.
Maybe, but I feel like once you hit that many hours, it's I don't know if it's gonna reach a peak. But as of right now,
Yeah, if it doesn't learn it in
it
a
can't fly.
billion hours,
Right.
like
Sure.
It
Well,
can't fly.
yeah,
it could be that
Right
like
there's
now.
some new model that eventually gets deployed that starts accounting for flying training data or something. Who knows,
It's
right?
possible. It's
Yeah.
very possible. So that was a big issue with the bots.
Yeah.
And so I feel like in some games you have to take that into consideration because there's other games out there. Valorant has bots in early rank plays, so you can compete easier. If this was used in a sense, let's say this ghostwriter artist who no one knows, literally no one knows,
Yeah.
if they're able to use this machinery to actually develop their own sound, not take a Drake voice, but
Yeah.
take multiple voices together and actually form its own sound.
Mm-hmm.
Would it change your opinion at all? Because then he's using it as a tool and not as impacting other artists already in the industry.
Sure.
Would
But
that make it better?
yeah, of course. But I'm of the opinion that the way this is being used right now, like, yeah, it's in a gray area and it's not great to steal from people, especially when it's their likeness. But when it comes to getting work out there, and as long as you're making the distinction that, hey, it's not actually the artist, it's like my interpretation, I think there's room for it. The question is, should you get paid for that? And obviously the legal system is going to say no, and the platforms are going to say no. So it's not really up for debate either.
but do you think they should say yes?
So if it's originally produced lyrics and content, sure, but just like anything else, there should be a royalty that gets paid because
If they're using a voice,
you're using somebody's likeness for your
Yeah,
it's
but
to me
royalties
it's like sampling.
usually yeah, but royalties and sampling all have to go through like clearance and everything.
That's fair, yeah.
Yeah, and that I think that's a big deal because like to
Mhm.
me this feels like the death nail of like being able to like work professionally as an artist, right?
Well,
This has been it's been harder and harder to make a living as a musician, ever since iTunes, you know.
yeah, I mean
Uh
it's been hard before that, but I see your point.
well, yeah, but like in the 60s and 70s there was like an actual economy of like working class musicians, right? Like people like Jim Croce and like all that who like were able to make a modest living playing music like
Sure.
live and like professionally for like other people, right? Studio musicians.
Yeah.
Um and this just seems like the obvious solution to like the as like it gets harder and harder and harder and as like music production requires fewer and fewer people, like we're getting to a point where it requires almost no one, because
yeah.
look at how these things are inevitably going to intersect. Do you think people aren't going to be doing AI lyrics next? And then it's like, where's the line? I think I don't know. I have a lot of feelings about this, but it's kind of like they're all struggling to get out right now, and it's also
Yeah.
a holiday.
I have
It is also a
I
holiday.
I have a take from the other perspective as well, and it's based on what the artist, in this case Ghostwriter, posted online following the
Yeah.
release of the song. He basically said that he posted anonymously and wanted to stay anonymous, but through this kind of like throwaway Twitter profile, said that he had worked as a professional ghostwriter for multiple labels for the past 8 to 10 years, and that he got paid basically nothing. And to him, he saw this as the way forward for developing his own exposure if he can ride the coattails of the people who he helped make superstars. And in that way, I could see it being a tool that definitely makes the process more democratic because you're
Mm,
using someone's likeness to elevate yourself when you've been basically stolen from for years.
nah, I think that's very naive.
That's a super specific case, but I'm just
Yeah,
saying
I
in
think
that
that's
case, I understand the sentiment.
yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's very naive because not every artist is Drake.
No, of course not.
And like,
yeah, this was like an isolated example of
yeah,
this. Is
and
what I'm
like,
saying.
as someone who like one day is like a professional creative and hopes to one day ascend to like artist, right? What you put out in this world is all you have, right? And when we get to the bigger story this year, like you'll see that like fans and like fame, that's a mirage. That can go away.
Sure, of course.
That can all disappear. But like the work out in the world is yours. And as you created it. And like to have people come out here and make work using your medium, it reminds me of like the work of art forgers back in like the Middle Ages, you know, and that's how I see these. Like I think Ghost Rider's a kind of a fucking thief, and like yeah, he got fucked by capitalism, but the answer to that is not to steal Drake's like likeness; it's to form a union. Right, like this is not.
It's not like he didn't accept the job.
Yeah, it's.
I was gonna say there are corporate protections.
Sure.
AI or unionization. There are corporate protections against only one of these right now.
Sure.
So that's
but like one's effective practice and one's not. And the other thing is that not everyone who's making this AI music has such a a sympathetic backstory.
Yeah,
I can definitely attest that I think the people who are interested in AI are the people who want to take the artist out of the art. Like the people who are like honestly, I think it's going to be. I'm kind of shocked by this, to be honest with you, because I thought UMG would be on the side of it. Like to me, it seems inevitable that way because.
I don't see it that way at all because at least not in the short term because they are very interested in making sure that the streaming numbers that they get paid for continue to increase and nothing takes away from that.
Sure.
Because in the short term, that's their interest. In the long term, maybe they look at AI as an ability to help their artists produce more music. But I don't see that being viable anytime soon.
And I also think it's compelling. And I also think and this can change, but I think it's worth pointing out that like, a lot of the talk between AIs is usually between like labels and brands and stuff. You don't really see artists utilizing it that much. The only thing I can think of is the Little Yachty Midjourney.
He made the cover,
the album, the cover, and that awful AI rapper from last year. And the other thing is that like, I don't know. I thought this song was very boring. Like.
What did you like better, this or Search and Rescue?
Search and Rescue by a pretty wide margin.
Absolutely not. I felt the exact opposite.
I think that's
I don't think either song is that good in reality.
I liked that this one was short. Search and Rescue is like 4.5 minutes long.
Yeah, but this one felt like this one felt like lo-fi music off a YouTube rip, like with a bad Drake impersonator over it, and it's like.
I didn't think it was a bad impersonation at all. It sounded like him.
I think it was significantly better than the Jay-Z one, but like I was not particularly convinced, to be honest.
Either way, if this lights a fire under Drake to make shit that sounds less generic, I'm all for it.
Now I do have a question
because this is a very imitable style. Like it's very easy to imitate his current style with these tools.
Because I think that's an unfair judgment, though.
Is it though? We heard the song. It sounds like Drake. It sounds like a beat that Drake could rap over, rapping about things Drake would rap about.
Even
right?
still, in the beat, it says it's a Metro Boomin beat, and then you're just gonna say Metro Boomin's basically he's the greatest producer out
there.
But
to me, it doesn't sound like a Metro Boomin beat to me though.
But even though it is.
I know.
Like
I think that's.
It literally says I'm Metro Boomin.
Yeah.
Like the chorus literally says I'm Drake. I feel like of all people, the person who's experienced identity theft and is wearing a mask would be on the side of the artist.
No, of course. What I'm saying is I think that this is a good way to show that there's a competition in music that hasn't existed before. And I think if it for the people who basically hold all of the streaming value that exists on Earth pretty much, like an artist like Drake. If Drake feels a little unsettled by this, I think that's a good thing. because I think it shows that even a huge artist who has this huge market control and all of this success that goes with it, there's room to continue to improve and change their product and not be complacent in what they produce, because there comes a
Yeah.
point where your artistic integrity is sacrificed for your commercial viability, and we've talked about this.
I was gonna say I honestly do agree
Yeah.
that like this would be a motivational piece to like
That,
push them
and
forward,
that's what
but
I'm saying. Yeah,
even still, I just feel like the idea of it being easily impersonated or easily to copy, it just
Yeah.
it doesn't sit well with me because the AI didn't do it that well, and if it was that easy,
that
anyone would just copy Drake's
Yeah.
style.
that's fair. And I mean, I think the copycats are out there, but you have somebody who kind of takes that spot and rides that spot. But I mean, we did Scaring the Hose deep dive a couple weeks
Mm,
ago. Like, for me personally, even though the 404 machine is the simple thing that was used to make all the beats off of that album, like, I could see for an artist who has some experience mixing and producing and generating content, it would be a lot harder to imitate something off of Scaring the Hose and to that sound than it would be a simple kind of pop Drake track, just
That's
based on the
definitely
nature of the music that it is.
yeah, no, that's definitely true. The more idiosyncratic something is just the harder it's going to be. Purvis, are you because I do have a point I want to bring up because I do think it is deliciously hilarious that it was Drake, right?
okay.
Because look, we've been over this. I'm a big advocate for the FD Singer Fire video, Drake and the Death of Hip Hop.
Mm,
I think pre 2023, I don't think anyone is more culpable for just the commodification of hip hop as a culture than Drake, right? And we call him out for that, right? We call him out for being this what's the phrase? Like lowest common denominator artist who just contributes nothing artistically and only seems to be interested in the commercial viability of his art as a commodity.
It
Right.
feels like there's a lot of it
And
feels like
we
there's a lot of take from him, but not a lot of give when it comes to contributing to a community, contributing to
right.
the artistic space. Yes.
Right. So we agree on this that he is doing this to the art. He's making it more commodifiable. And we think that's bad as an understanding of the hip hop landscape.
I feel like I know where this is going.
And that's also bad for Drake to do, right?
Mm,
So this seems like the next step in that. This seems like the next easiest way to commodify music is to automate parts of the process.
Yeah, there's an irony to it, and that's why I appreciate it.
But right, but if we were being logically consistent here, we would also be mad at people like Ghostwriter who are perpetuating this, right?
Sure.
And I would and that's my point, right? Is that like the same way I'm annoyed at Drake for simplifying and degrading the culture into something that is bought and sold, taking it from art and turning it into content, right? Like, yeah, I dislike that about Drake. But I think this is the next step in that, and I think it's bizarre that people who have this criticism of Drake aren't also applying this criticism to the people who are using AI. Like, I think Ghostwriter is kind of a fuck. Like, I think like whoever
No, and that's
did this is
that's
kind of
valid.
it is perpetuating it because like these people aren't like they're human beings, like they're doing things and like their actions have consequences and like the people who are using AI to make songs and to create this problem are doing it consciously. It's not something that like has to happen. To me, it very much feels like people who just, and maybe this is a bit of a stereotype, but I get a bit of a vibe from a lot of people who are using this. It's like people who don't seem interested in putting the time and effort it takes to learn the skills in order to do this, right? And like, I think that's very true from like the visual art you see from AI, especially in some spaces. Like, and that's just kind of like the flags I see for this right now.
Yeah, I mean, the Ghostwriter situation I think is a little different given the background that was discussed.
But
And I think that
the art he puts into the world is going to have an effect on the culture regardless of his backstory.
sure,
It's going to
and
contribute
to
to
an
the
extent, yes.
commodification of a culture created by marginalized people.
Yes.
whether he is whether he was an underpaid writer for Drake or Drake.
Or
Like,
whoever else he was paid for. Sure.
yeah.
And that's totally valid. I think that in that context, yes, it's not obviously productive in any way. But I think that if you're putting it out there with the intention of like this is an experiment to see how easy it is to go viral, sure, you're stealing, but you're not doing it with the intent to directly impersonate or make money off of, because that was not the approach for this particular one. There are
Well,
others where it is,
well, I'm not
but
necessarily talking about stealing right now. I'm talking about the impact this is going to have culturally on this genre of music, right?
sure,
Because like
yeah,
stealing, I do think it's especially terrible to steal someone's likeness, but like
yeah,
that's neither here nor there right now. I could give a fuck about UMG,
yeah,
right? I am much more worried about a culture that has produced some of the best pieces of art in, the past 50 years of American history. Is this the death nail in its commodification? And I think the answer depends on if we choose to resist it or if we choose to play into it.
a hundred
And I
percent,
also
yeah,
think, and I also think that's possible. Like I think it's something that could be resisted, but I also think there's a possibility that this is like NFTs. People
sure.
told. I heard NFTs were inevitable all 2021.
That's true.
Yeah,
I
and
think in music, it could go either way on that
you know,
front. I think the advent of machine learning that has been building since like 2014 is here
yeah,
to
I
stay.
think machine learning for sure. I'm specifically talking about these AI tools.
Yeah. Um,
Chat GPT, Mid Journey, and I think Mid Journey is probably going to be around for a while. But I think a lot of these are going to be closer to NFTs than anything else.
Yeah,
That's
I
possible.
think that the reason I got interested in this was because I saw this article, but then also Fantano. Like we were discussing this before the show, but Fantano did a video specifically about this song, and his criticism of it went a little past just the moral and I guess just generally ethical considerations of whether or not AI interpretation and imitation is bad for culture, and actually took it to the root of how the simplification and standardization of a hit song across the genre has created this creative bankruptcy already,
Sure.
where anyone can spit out a hit song in a few minutes, regardless of what tools are used to make it. And I think that's another criticism that we kind of need to look at in the same lens is like,
Oh,
how,
I
yeah,
totally
how
agree.
simple are we willing to go with it?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's just that I think people using these tools are perpetuating that, not
Yeah,
liberating us from it.
no,
Like,
I would agree with that.
yeah, like
It's
that's.
it's but it's like it's a two-pronged problem. It's a culture problem and it's a tech problem
Oh yeah,
at that point.
I totally agree with that. Like once again, like it is, technology is as the culture decides it is going to be. Like
Yeah, I was gonna say in terms of a tech problem, I feel like it's doing pretty well. AI
Yeah,
is at the peak of where it's at. It's just the issue is the culture problem. That's all.
yeah.
yeah. I just find it very ironic that it was the biggest fish in the pond who or in the sea who's now threatened by this, and
Yeah,
because of that, there's actual action on behalf of this huge conglomerate that owns a third of the media we consume.
Yeah.
I was gonna say what, and I'll end the conversation with this. What I want to know or what I want to see is an actual artist's opinion, an artist that's being
Yeah.
impacted. I
Yeah.
Yeah,
feel like a lot of the things that are trending right now are the obvious big names. You have Drake, you have Kanye, you have The Weeknd a little bit,
Kendrick's in there.
you have a little bit of Kendrick, not really J. Cole, but like I want to hear someone who's actually being impacted
Yeah.
and what they think.
I have a theory just because, just like in my uses with AI. I think another reason I think it's just never going to really, really catch on is I think like a major artist, I don't think it's a very good tool for like specific expression.
Hmm.
I can't see it being very useful to someone like Tyler the Creator's workflow.
Sure.
It's just not that. Like I can't see someone like LP, someone who rips all of his samples from vinyls he gets in Brooklyn, right? Like I don't see how AI is going to improve his process, you know, and I don't see how it's going to do it on anything. Like yes, it could imitate Drake, but could it make a song for Lil Wayne, an artist debatably as simple? Probably not.
Mm.
Yeah.
Just to put a little bit of a lighter touch on the last thing I have here, I could totally see artists coming out against this in the same way that they did during the era of DMCA when that was first passed,
Yeah,
where it's like you wouldn't download or you wouldn't steal a car, and it's like stuff like that because it's kind of the new version of that where it's like stealing copyrighted content and using it in a way that's not authorized.
yeah.
So I could totally.
I think that's ridiculous. I don't think those two things are the same at all.
I'm not saying they
Mm,
are,
yeah.
but what I'm saying is I could totally see like anti AI use campaigns or something based around similar principles of like, oh, if you're doing this with an artist's work and interpreting it as like you're stealing from them, yada yada, like stuff like that. I could see that being like an industry tool to try and dissuade from this.
Yeah, maybe.
All
Let's
right.
see. Should we get into, I guess, Coachella?
Yeah, let's get into Coachella. This is the big one. This is the big one.
So this is going to be the main topic, but there's some things I want to cover first before we actually get into
I
it.
can't believe I was fully prepared to give Yeet the respect he deserves. He did a concert. You guys went. He deserves.
It was a great concert.
I don't doubt it. I don't doubt. My criticisms of Yeet I do not think would manifest in a live performance of his music. Like
that is fair.
It was so good I got sick.
Yeah.
10 out of 10.
I've been there. I risked the Donda variant. I remember back then.
Literally. I mean, honestly, it depends on where we finish Coachella. If we have time, we have time. But
yeah.
What I do want to get over, I want to go over all the really good sets and some things that just were kind of pointed out, some news before we get into the main event. Obviously hip hop related. Metro Boomin did a fantastic set. He brought out Future, Don Toliver, John Legend, The Weeknd, 21 Savage, Mike Dean, and Diddy. Good God.
I would have killed to have seen that set. That sounds 100%. Incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. This is
Metro
like...
Boomin wants some more?
He's one of the best producers. He's got to be.
He absolutely is.
After this, I feel like he has to be one or two. It's no question.
He's probably my two right now.
Behind?
LP. And they're like that. Like but it's just two opposite sounds. Like opposite but similar at the same time. Like
we also had, and I always say her name wrong. Is it Kali Uche?
I think he's saying it right.
Uchis?
Kali Uche.
Uchis, yeah. Uchis, I think.
Yeah. She brought out Omer Apollo. She brought out Don Toliver and Tyler, the Creator. Another stacked set right there. What's wrong, Jasper? Did you not like the performance?
I have words about that Tyler, the Creator feature.
Why? What happened?
His mic wasn't working.
It was messed up?
No, he didn't sing the entire time. He was just dancing around on stage to the song they did together.
I didn't see that.
He even tweeted about it.
No.
He's doing the gremlin crawl from the music video where he's on the deck of the ship, like okay, and like there's no mic.
Yeah,
that's unfortunate. I didn't know his mic was out.
Yeah, it's too bad. Cool moment though. Good cinematography for that set. It was nice because they had like a low camera right at the front of the stage going back and forth. It was cool.
I have to be honest.
Really
I
dope.
did not watch any sets because the one I was gonna watch. We'll get to it.
But I didn't watch it live. I saw like a YouTube video.
Oh
afterwards.
yeah, I forgot that they do put them on as YouTube videos. So I probably could have. Yeah.
We'll see them eventually. And then just the biggest news I think that's not music related necessarily, and it will play into the conversation.
Yeah, I think the context is very important for this.
Yes. The event was fined $117,000 for the 3 days in curfew fees. Just to give you an idea of how this number reached this point, it is $20,000 if you go 5 minutes past curfew. Every minute after that is $1,000.
It's ridiculous.
That's ridiculous, but at the same time,
Jesus.
Coachella's average annual revenue is $82 million. So
I don't feel bad for them,
pennies,
but like
pennies.
No, that's you're right. It's I guarantee you it's something and we'll get to this.
They have a budget for that shit.
They have a
for
budget.
Sure.
There's
They know
absolutely
exactly how much
there's
over they're willing to go.
100% a budget allocated for these fights.
For every dollar they make, like
Yeah.
0.12 cents goes into the jar for
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
overage.
no, there's absolutely a budget for this. Like,
But it's just kind of insane when you think about state fees and things like that.
So is
But
it a curfew specifically for minors, or like how does it work? Is it like
I
a
have
county
no
thing?
idea.
Because I saw
honestly
stuff
don't
about
know.
this and I don't know either. I
I
want to
don't know.
look.
I
it
have
up.
no idea because like I don't even know the curfew laws in Chicago.
That's the thing. I was gonna say. I feel like it's not limited to age because, like, remember we were going to eat and there's so many young people there. We were like, man, I hope this doesn't go past like 11 because there's a child like curfew and then there's like a legitimate like music curfew.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't. It just doesn't even say. It's like I'm looking at it now. Daily fine of 20K. Apparently, the money will go to Indio, California's general fund used for funding general city projects. Lovely.
Yeah, okay. Well, it sounds okay if
Hey,
it's
if
in the
there's
right hands.
one things that the unpaid nobodies support, it is
Urban city building.
general city projects.
Public Works, let's go. Rebuild that sewer system.
Big numbtots here. Like,
Only they fix
apparently,
my potholes.
yeah.
apparently
Jesus.
it was in addition to Frank Ocean being a curfew breaker, Calvin Harris and Bad Bunny sets also broke curfew.
Oh yeah,
at
That
other
makes
times.
sense.
yeah, that 100% makes sense.
Uh,
But yeah, you just said it. Everyone's talking about it.
I found it real quick.
Okay,
I
go
found
ahead.
it. A 2013 city permit outlining conditions under which Golden Voice, which is the parent company, can host Coachella Festival states that all performances must conclude by 1 a.m. on Friday and Saturday and midnight on Sunday. So,
Oh right, yeah.
written into that contract, $20,000 each time a performance goes past curfew, plus $1,000 a minute starting that 6th minute after curfew is broken.
Yep.
So it's just written into the contract with with the city for the general event to end.
yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah.
Did either one of you stay up?
I
Hell
mean,
no.
I did. I mean, I was up. I just stay up to midnight usually. Like,
Okay.
usually I would not be up so late to finish the set if it would have went according to plan.
Mhm.
But I was up normally. So I stayed up hoping and praying. But no, I was. Man,
I was considering it, but then I thought about the time zone difference and
Yeah,
having just
that played
changed
into it.
roles. I have to get up earlier for work now than I did with the previous role, so I'm like, I'm good. I need to get sleep.
So, this is what I'll do then because I stayed up. I was
Yeah.
texting the Discord
we were talking
as I
we were-
was up.
Yeah, we talked through the whole thing.
I eventually fell asleep at 2:30, and I just want to break down my experience.
Oh boy.
Here we go.
Because I feel like being so involved, of course, with the artists and just the genre in general.
Yeah, if you've
Like-
been watching the show at all, you know we
Right.
are massive Frank
Um,
Ocean fans.
super fans. So I get to witness these order of events live. So I just wanted to speak on what actually happened at the Frank Ocean concert.
Yeah.
For those who do not know, because not everyone's involved. Started out the day. Brandon pointed out to me, I had no idea. There's no merch being sold at Coachella.
Yeah.
No merch at all being sold. There's no real reason to it. I feel like that is the easiest main connection to your fan base you can have, even
Yeah.
though it has to be evolved around money. You own a piece of.
Yeah.
I own a
the-
golf shirt, and I
the-
am proud to own this shirt.
yeah. No, the desire for fans to own merch is like a very valid thing.
Right.
I'll give them this. I'll say this, and I feel this way about a lot of the stuff that went down. If this was the one thing that happened, I'd feel.
Then I would have been happy.
I'd
Yeah.
feel differently, right? If like the live stream went and like he put effort into the show and his performance, like
Right.
I would have felt differently about him not selling merch because it's like, yeah, no, I get it. Like I get that sucks for a lot of people who are really big fans, and like if you were there, it would suck for you. Like I get
Right.
it, but like I also like I kind of get like wanting to opt out of that whole culture a little bit.
That is very true.
And like, but the thing is that it wasn't just that. It was a whole bunch of things, which just leads me to think that this was just something Frank did not put a lot of effort into.
That is also extremely true.
Yeah.
And that low effort was expressed once you get towards the actual event.
Yeah.
One thing that I wanted to point out very quickly, because I think it's very obvious, all three of us are major Frank fans, and we're all very disappointed in how it turned out.
Yeah.
Now I wanted to say this first before I actually like go off on a rant about it, because most of this is going to be negative. There are multiple people out there that are saying, either at the event or some kind of connection to it, that this is not all negative, as though this is like a great event, Frank Ocean sharing what he's been working on with us, and under the understanding that this really only impacted 0.5% of Frank Ocean fans, at least at the event.
I mean,
Yeah,
I'll say
that's what I'm saying.
I'll say this: there are things in isolation about this that I don't totally hate.
Right, it's the combination of everything.
it's and like it's the combination, and also it's just like the lack of effort throughout. You know what I
Right.
mean?
So
But go ahead,
essentially, around probably the afternoon or evening, really at this
Yeah.
point, people just started discovering that the tweet that YouTube put out about Frank Ocean being streamed was
Yeah.
deleted.
Yeah, because like we had covered it a few weeks ago. Because like
Yeah,
there was a tweet.
we
that was
are
like,
excited.
It was like they specifically called out like, "Oh, Frank is streaming," and because I remember us saying like it would sound like Frank to like
Right. Do what he
to
did.
not stream this, but we heard that he was, so like, oh, okay, that's fine, that's good, that's sick, and
Right.
then
And this is something that's planned months in advance. People spend thousands,
yeah,
questionably, of dollars on this.
people planned like parties to like watch this.
Yes, it's a real event.
Yeah, like
that
I almost had people
impacted
over to
many
watch
people.
it. Like,
Right. And so we found out that it was going to be canceled around the evening time with no clarification and no warning. So just like that, to the same point I made earlier, 99% or more percent of your fans are not going to experience this.
no,
Keep in mind he has not done any live shows in 6 years, has had an album in 7 years.
He didn't tour Blonde. He's never released a music.
Blonde.
He hasn't released a music video since 2013.
I thought he has a Nike's video.
No, he doesn't. Does he?
It's on Vimeo.
Is it a Nike's video?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Nike
No,
I thought he only had Channel Orange. Let me look.
No, there's a
I
Nike's
forgot
video.
about that.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it then. Weird.
Yeah, there's a Nike's video.
But,
it's on Vimeo.
but even still, that was forever ago.
Yeah, no, that was Blonde. It was before.
Right.
So there's a video up, but it's not published by his channel. It's like
It's the
a
production
third-party
company.
channel.
It's the production company.
Okay.
Visual Letters, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah, something like
Yeah.
that. Mm.
Okay. Yeah, that's why I couldn't find it, because I'm on his like blonded one usually.
I see.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's yeah, no, this the real one's by Tyrone Laban. Music video. Yeah. It has all the credits and everything.
I'm gonna look into that. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. But that is pretty much all the prior details before we get to the stage.
Yeah.
This amazing 18-year-old girl, no one knew. She started live streaming the event. It was her and like one other person that kind of fell off halfway. But there was one person that everyone found. She started off with like 6,000 followers. At least that's when I found the page. And she ended with over 40K. At one point, there was about 115,000 people trying to find and watch this event off this, who happens to also be an artist, an 8-year-old girl who's also an artist on the front row. I think the tag is like Morgan Doesn't Care on Instagram.
Yeah.
Amazing. So she's been getting a lot of love for that, which is great for her. I hope her career takes off, so there's some kind of positive outcome out of what happened. But that was the experience that 99% of the fans had to have, was through a kind of laggy Instagram live feed.
Yeah.
He started an hour late. This was due to modifications on the set.
Yeah. Yeah. So we shared a video where someone was like, And I thought this guy made some. I
I
thought
was
this
trying
guy.
to keep it in.
I thought this guy made some decent points. But one of the points I thought was ridiculous is that he was like, "Oh, it wasn't Frank that was late. It was the production, putting up the screens and everything." And Frank came out like 5-10 minutes later. First off, I don't know if that last part is true. I'll
No.
assume that it is, because my point is that when you make a game day decision to completely change your production, I think you're
Let
on the
alone an hour or so before.
yeah, you are. I think you are like on the hook for being ready at start time. If it was 15 minutes, okay. Like,
And the thing is, it wasn't a minor or a small change that happened. Apparently there is supposed to be an entire ice rink that they
Yeah.
planned.
yeah,
The people that you saw walking in circles were actually supposed to be on skates with the whole.
ice rink. Yeah,
So the fact that Coachella was able to remove an ice rink from a stage the day of is impressive. He started an hour late. Sorry,
It's
go ahead.
California. It's California. They have the weather to remove ice.
That is also true. But like, it literally takes a day to
Yeah.
convert the Bulls court to the Blackhawks
Facts.
stadium.
100%.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
yeah,
No doubt.
So he started performing some of his songs, and now what I will say, to give him some credit, there are a couple of songs that he did truly
Yeah.
perform.
yeah. And I think the
Um,
performances he gave, like vocally, I thought were
Sounded great.
absolutely
Sounded
fine.
great.
Absolutely,
ones,
like
yes.
not disappointing in any capacity. The songs he actually performed, and like,
With
so-
minor modifications. Those
Yeah.
songs.
I don't know if you could call them minor. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, I don't know if you would call them minor.
Well, that's what I'm
either.
saying. The ones that were minor, he did well on.
Yeah.
Now, there were other songs
that he
that
did
had
more.
a lot of changes to it.
Now here's
Whether full tempo changes,
Yeah.
full genre changes.
here's the thing. Here's the thing, right? I kind of like that idea. I think that's a really, really cool idea. I don't think it's done very well here. I think,
No.
I just don't think the white Ferrari, that version
Should be
is-
an EDM
is
rave.
good. Yeah, no, I don't think that's a good version. But like the idea that like, oh, there's a version of white Ferrari that sounds nothing like the one on Blonde. Like, I feel like I'm willing to let Frank get away with a lot of shit, and I feel like that's one of the things where it's like, yeah, I totally would let him get away with like doing different versions of it if it was like full effort, full performance, right? The
Okay.
full my problem with this is I did not feel like there was a lot of effort in it, and like don't even talk about like Nikes and Knights,
So yeah,
Yeah.
even getting into Nikes and Nike, there's one thing where it's very poor effort. It's another thing where you are literally plugging in your phone and playing the song.
Yeah,
I watched a whole TikTok about this literally earlier today. How I forget what artist it was, but they're essentially saying that fans are getting robbed from
Yeah.
performances
yeah,
because back in the day, artists would perform. If anything, it was the beat and they were full
Yeah.
voice.
yeah,
Now it is the full song and they're doing ad libs.
That's
Um,
what it was like when we went and saw Jid and Smino. They didn't
For-
even they didn't even have their backing vocal track on.
Oh,
it was
yeah.
them just straight rapping everything over the
Yeah.
beats, which was
Very true.
amazing.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a
and
rarity
that was
now.
Yeah.
a great performance.
Yeah.
It was, yeah.
And
This was even worse. He just didn't do anything. He didn't even
Yeah.
have a mic.
yeah,
Didn't even
he
have a
just
mic.
kind of like danced, even though he has a broken ankle. Like, and look, like I think there was a guy I follow, and he normally gives very pitchforky takes. Like I like him because he's like well spoken, but
Mhm.
like I don't usually agree with him. But like he was pretty. I sent you a couple of his things. He's a TikTok guy, and he made a point that I thought was interesting, and it's like, no, I don't think you understand. Like every show is objectively better when the artist does their own vocals, right?
Mhm.
And someone had pointed out that like he had gone to a Playboy Cardi concert that he said was amazing, and Playboy Cardi just did the ad libs and like raged, right? Which is something he does apparently. Jasper's nodding, so I know.
That's exactly how it is. It's
Yeah.
it's the track with screaming over it.
Yeah, and like
10 out of 10.
And like the point he makes is that like, yes, I saw Playboy Cardi. He didn't do the lyrics. It was a great show, but there's nothing you can say that like if he did the lyrics, it wouldn't have been better. You know what I mean? Like, there's
Yeah,
no argument there that like, even when it is
that's
good,
very
like
fair.
it would not have just been better if he actually gives the performance on top of that.
Hmm.
You know, and I think with Frank, like it's especially disappointing because like he's an R&B artist, and I think the performance is a much bigger part of it.
That is very true.
100%.
Singing plays much more into it, and
Yeah,
your passion and emotion within your actual vocals plays so much into it. And I feel like on top of just the low effort, just a low like stage presence in general. The stage wasn't very viewable to most of the crowd. You
no,
only
it
saw them
wasn't.
by the screen.
It was
Um,
very clearly a stage setup that was thought of in
yeah,
minutes. Like,
literally. He literally went off stage at one point. All the transitions were terrible. And that's one thing. And I noticed this recently when we went to the Jid concert. He did really good transitions. And when I was watching the live stream of Dreamville, just how Drake would transition from song to song, even with the extra artists that he brought in. Those things matter.
no, they definitely
It
do. They're a
it,
huge
it helps
factor.
the flow of the concert.
Yeah, they
It
absolutely do.
does not break one song that is a slow R&B from a EDM rave song a couple seconds later. It doesn't work, and it became to a point where I felt like I played the vault. I'm so serious. I literally had this thought when I was laying there. I felt like I played shuffle on my large playlist, and it just was bouncing around. And I had no expectation
It
for
was
what
a
was next or
very,
what was going to happen.
it was a very unfocused performance. You know, from
He brought out
the
a DJ that no one heard of for
DJ
15 or 20
Crystal
minutes.
Mess.
yeah.
Crystal Mess.
Okay,
Crystal
now
Mess
I
played
thought
songs by Calvin Harris, Ice Spice, and then he played No Church in the Wild to close out his set
yeah.
in the middle of Frank Ocean's
Yeah,
set.
no, that was a bizarre. That's a bizarre choice, and it's like, why? Why would you even do that?
It's just,
Like, now something I
there's
thought,
such high expectations.
something
I'm
I
sorry.
thought could, because I'm using my one Fantano a week thing for this. I watched a
Okay.
Fantano video about this, and he made a really good point, where it was like, listen, here's the thing. He's like, I think fans are every right to be upset because this is clearly a very low effort production. This is clearly not very respectful to his relationship with his fans. But let's be realistic. A Frank Coachella set was not going to be like a typical Coachella set, and chances are a good amount of his fan base would have not liked it, right? So, and I thought that going in, I'm like, there's going to be something. There's going to be something. I didn't think it would.
You were ready for it.
I didn't think there was going to be an entire career implosion, but like,
It's the meme. It's the our expectations for you were low, but
Yeah.
holy fuck.
but like something
I mean, yeah.
something I thought could happen was, do you guys remember in early 2020 when he was doing the prep shows? He was doing like live DJ sets in famous
Oh.
I
gay
think,
bars
yeah.
across the country.
I remember
Right.
hearing about
And it
this.
was
I didn't
right-
see any of them.
And it was I didn't see any of them either. I don't think they ever
Right.
came here or anything. He did it like in New York and LA a few times. It was right before the pandemic. It was like in March 2020.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
it was in that run up where he released like Cayendo, Dear April, DHL. He released like those few loose
Yep.
singles, right?
Yep.
We had a
Uh,
whole thing planned out. I was
yeah.
like, this is the album cover, the squares on the bottom is each song. We were
Something-
fully planning it out.
Something I thought might happen is I thought he might do a set like that, where it was
Yep.
more of a concrete focus. Because that's what I had heard about those, is that they were very focused, like house music sets, right? That he was doing. I hear they were incredible. And I'm like,
That
oh,
would have been
like,
nice.
and like, here's the thing. I think a lot of his fans would not have liked that, but I think like,
That is
okay,
true.
but that's a level of abstraction I'm willing to give him. This, just a random 10-minute DJ set in the middle, is not like.
It's really
Yeah.
bad. And it looked bad. It felt bad.
It
And-
very much felt like he was padding for time, and
Mhm.
like I know people are. I know it could be very easy to get the impression that Frank sang for like 5 minutes, and I saw someone do the math on the Reddit, and apparently he sang, if you round it up, like 41 minutes, And
Yeah.
it's like, okay, that doesn't sound too bad until you realize he was supposed to perform for 2 hours. Like,
And you realize what the tickets cost to go to Coachella, which
yeah,
is like
exactly. And I
the
think,
most premier expensive music festival that there is.
yeah, and that's
Mm-hmm.
exactly another factor of it. I think there are spaces where it's like, no, you got to let Frank be Frank. I think that's the album, right?
Yeah.
When he's in the studio making the album on his money, you let Frank be Frank. But like when you're at Coachella on ours,
There's certain expectations
yeah,
that you need to reach in reality.
yeah,
And believe it or not, in terms of just giving him some freedom, there are some ways you can expand your performance. If for some reason he didn't want to do his own music or whatever was already out, his last song that he ended on was "At Your Best" by Aaliyah. That is one of my favorite songs. He
no,
actually like was singing to that song. I think that was the best part of the concert for me.
yeah.
Like I was at a peak, and then he did not say sorry. The music video you sent me said he said sorry. He did not say sorry.
Well,
He said, "I'm being told that we're hitting curfew. That's
So
the end of the
that's
show."
the end of the show.
And
Yeah.
that was it.
yeah,
No
That was
apologies.
the line that he
Nothing.
gave me
yeah.
or gave the fans. Um, it's just I feel like everything that went into it, anything that could have went wrong did go wrong.
And
It's almost to the
it
point
felt
where
malicious. It felt like it was.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it was very much like a middle finger to the fans, and like, on one hand, like you want to say, oh, he was maybe giving the middle finger to Coachella, but like, was he really? I don't see it that way.
It's just and there's no logical reason
And like,
to
why
say I'm
would
going to
he?
give
And
them.
like,
That's
why
what I'm
would
saying.
he?
There's no
Like,
logical
the whole
reason.
point,
Even
the whole point, like when he talked about how he did it with his brother, and this,
well, his brother. That's what I'm
yeah,
saying.
like it doesn't make sense for him to want to do that. And like, I will say this: the one thing, the one piece of grace I will give Frank, because I had no idea about his brother until that night.
Oh, you didn't?
I had no idea his brother died in 2020.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's
That's why
also why
he.
the album
That's
didn't
why
come
he.
out.
That's
Yeah.
why he backed out of doing the show in 2020. He rescheduled.
I thought the show in
Mhm.
2020 was canceled
The whole thing, I think, got canceled.
because his brother didn't die
Well.
until August 2020.
Hmm.
Oh well, so that's another thing. The whole you said you
I
didn't understand the fuck Coachella possibly. Well, the thing is, he was supposed to be in the 2021 and then try to reschedule, and then I guess they wanted him for the following year, 21, and he pushed it out to 23. And I think he was trying to get out of that contract to be
yeah
in the show.
yeah.
Hmm.
Now I'll say this right. As someone who has lost a brother, that shit fucks you up on a fundamental level, and it will do it for a decade, right? I'm gonna let him take all his time on this album. I officially like I do not want to use the fact that Frank Ocean has not released an album in 7 years against him now, knowing this,
Hmm.
right? I also don't think you have to. Like, I think there's plenty to criticize. Like, that's valid,
No.
right? I think there's plenty that he fucked up on. But I will say in that just one regard that, like, he's working on an album, he's being very vague with it. I'm going to give him his time. I had no idea that it happens. I looked it all up when I had heard, and then that's where I land on that.
I fully agree with that, and it could possibly play into the actual performance. You never know. Maybe he got to the city, got to Coachella, and a lot of memories hit him. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
I guess it's just one thing to check in about mental health and things like that.
Yeah.
It's just certain expectations, I guess you can say, do play into account for this. Because, like, following up to all of this is all Sunday, and that's pretty much how I closed out. And we had a dramatic, maybe 2 or 3 days, and then he drops out the second week.
Yeah.
Is that worse than a bad performance? I'm just genuinely curious what you guys think.
No.
No.
I genuinely would have been a lot more sympathetic to him canceling than what he did.
I
Yeah.
feel like, yeah, I've been pretty quiet up until this point on my thoughts on this, so I'm just gonna share with you guys real quick because
Okay.
this entire fiasco fills me with rage. Like
Yeah.
Okay.
everything from the coordinated rollout with BMW USA showing the orange E30 rolling around the streets of Coachella, to him performing only Novocaine from that entire project, to him making a mockery of already established work with shit like that White Ferrari cup redo.
I think that's unfair.
I don't think
Like-
so. It was like a David Guetta version of White Ferrari. Why would you cheapen your art like that?
I don't think.
Well, Kid Cudi plays the fast part of Pursuit of Happiness. I
Yeah,
mean, it's
and,
up to
like,
the artist.
no, I
Yeah,
don't.
but
I
that's
don't-
that,
I
but
don't
that's
I
of
see
its
your point.
time. That's
No,
of its time. He has
I
never
just find
performed
that-
this song before. That's what I'm saying. Is
I
like,
get that. I get that. I don't think Frank Ocean can disrespect Frank Ocean. I don't. Like,
that's
I
fair.
I don't think Frank Ocean can cheapen his own art. And like, look, I did not like that version of White Ferrari either.
Yeah.
Like,
I
I did not think that is how you should do that.
I don't know. I
But
think it's
I
very
don't-
possible for an artist to cheapen their own art.
Yeah. Well.
I think it depends on how you know what the lens is, and I don't know if there was a contextual decision for doing it that way, but like to take a song that has never been performed live, and the first time you perform it live, change it up in such a drastic way like that to make it something that it's not. And this is a song that's been out for a while. It's a song that people have associations for and appreciations for in its existing form. And to totally subvert expectations, like I understand that being like his MO in a lot of ways as an artist and as a live performer. But there is such a thing, I think, is going too far with it. Just like the set being the way that it was. And I think in the context of this song, like oh yeah, here's just like this complete. So here's something entirely different from what you were effectively advertised, right? And I'm not saying that he advertised that he was going to perform it a certain way, but the fact that this is an album that has never been toured sets up expectations that that album is going to be present in some form that people are expecting. And I don't think it's unreasonable for fans to have expected his material to be presented in a format that was more authentic to the Frank Ocean they've come to know, that is the only one that's present in their lives because he as an artist is pretty much MIA. And I don't know. I mean, like, I felt that way personally. I wasn't there. Like, obviously, people who saw it live might feel differently about it. But I think in that way it is possible to cheapen the work because you are taking someone's... You're taking the only... I guess the only instance of media that you put out that fans know and contorting it in a way that is just completely not something that was ever considered. And in that way, you're
ever considered.
Like by the fans. Like I don't think anybody ever expected an EDM rendition of White Ferrari to ever exist, right?
Sure. Hold on. What I'll say is this: I do not think fans expected this, and by the way, I do agree with you, especially if I was at the concert. If I was at the concert, I would have wanted to hear the original version, and I would have been upset if it wasn't, as I am upset now.
Yeah.
I will give him this though. For that one specific song, that was his brother's favorite version. That's why.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So
I didn't even know there were multiple versions. Because
no, I don't.
Performed.
Well, so
that's why I said I won't hold that against you at all. I don't hold that
Yeah.
against you. I think that one specific song, I will give you that. But in terms of everything else you said, I do fully agree.
Yeah, I do think like it is. Okay, cards on the table. I think in most spaces, I think fans are kind of over entitled.
Okay.
I think hip hop is one of the better ones. I genuinely do think that. And I don't think that's this case. I think the fans have many, many reasons to be upset. And I think like, you know, the low effort and just like the lack of just emphasis and like passion he put into it, I feel like that's part of the reason why they should be upset. You know, now I remember watching a video with like one of his producers, and I thought it was mostly coping, right? It's a guy who worked on Channel Orange and Blondes, right? So I think it was mostly coping because he's like, this was not the disaster people said it was, and I'm like, I don't know about that. But apparently, like that's Frank's process. Like he makes multiple different versions of songs, right? And and look, I think the White Ferrari version was bad. Like,
right.
I didn't like
I
it.
actually just sent you I just sent you the article. It actually speaks about the interview he had with his brother. He even told his brother, he was like, he said, "Nah, not that version because it didn't bring me peace yet." So
Yeah.
it's true. Even Frank himself does not think this is one of the better versions.
That's
No,
okay. So that's fair.
no. And
So
the other changes, I felt like, the pink and white version,
Hmm.
I think is more closer to what I would say. Like, oh, if you're gonna change your music,
yeah,
change it up like this,
yeah,
something
I
that
agree with
like
that.
catches people off guard but is recognizable. I do think like you're right. Like you want to give them a show that they'll be happy about, and like this is not that. I just,
Hmm.
I think one, I just think we should not assume what is more authentic to Frank. We don't know Frank.
No, that's fair.
Yeah,
I guess it's not so much what's authentic to him as what feels authentic to people who have an understanding of his music
yeah.
and what the face he's presented to the public. Um,
So
but
sorry.
I have a couple more
Yeah, I
Go
was
things
ahead.
about
to
to
run
say
Go ahead.
because
through.
I was gonna say I want you to get like your other points out before I bring up like the main thing I was gonna say.
Yeah. All right. So the other thing that I don't know, I just don't understand with this whole thing is like there seems to always be like one or two artists who come along once every 10 years or so who are just totally allergic to giving people anything that they want, right? And Frank is obviously one of them, right? I think about contrast, right, to some of the best live performances I've ever seen. Like when I saw, I don't know, Kanye at Coloring Day, or when I saw Green Day live like 2 years ago, stuff like that. And it's like these are bands and artists and people who are willing to play their hits and like do great live renditions of them, and everybody just has like a great feeling of like, wow, this is amazing. This is the song I wanted to hear, yada yada yada. And yet there's just this withholding effect. It feels like for this whole set feels like it's withholding all of these things that people were excited about. I don't understand the artistic reasoning for it. I think it comes off as pretentious, and I think the whole set kind of gives off that vibe in the sense that like, here are these songs that you've never heard before, so you can't vibe to them at a live event because you probably can't hear it all that well because it's mixed for live outdoor audio. But here's a bunch of stuff that you're not going to know. Here's a DJ set in the middle to make you think my performance is over. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to come back at the end and basically do these like shortened bad studio listening versions of Nikes and Nights. Which, if it's a listening party, call it a fucking listening party like Donda, and don't bill it like it's a show because it's not.
Yeah.
Um,
Those last three are just
Yeah.
that's unforgivable. Like
Trash,
just playing
honestly.
your music and not performing, that
Yeah.
right there, that is untenable. Like there is
But
no excuse for it.
the ultimate song, and this is like a fan gripe, the ultimate song that I think would have complemented like being at Coachella would be Pyramids,
100%.
because
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's
Everyone
big,
said that. Yeah.
it's expansive, it's got the fucking guitar, it's super like what's the word? It's like super reverb heavy, so like it would work in an
Mm.
outdoor sound setting. And like there seems to be no interest in catering to what it would be like the popular taste. Obviously, that's fine, but at the same it feels like it's being done malignantly. Like I saw footage from him performing pretty much like most of these tracks. He doesn't look like he wants to be there.
No.
Like there's close-ups of his face on the jumbotron on like the big screen that they put up, and he looks like he's having a miserable time. And it really drives home the point. I feel like Frank Ocean has always been, I love his music. Like he's one of my favorite artists. I feel like he's always been an artist who only ever made music for himself, and then like when he got famous kind of just had to deal with it, but is not interested in being famous and not interested in engaging. If he feels very selfish in that way as like an artist, in
Well,
that he's
well,
just interested in it for his own, like he
I
puts out what he wants to put out, but it doesn't really matter if
I
people
got
like it or not.
I got to interject there. Like what's wrong with that though?
Well, nothing unless you agree to perform live. That's what I'm saying.
I okay, yes.
Yeah.
I'll I'll give you that. Yes. If you agree to perform live, you need to go and give them a
Yes.
show. Yes.
Yeah, like
My thing
dude,
though is that like
you can
I
be a
think
recording artist and not perform ever, and that's fine. But if you
Yeah,
are
but
actually going out and taking people's money for something, you
yes,
should
yes,
give them
yes.
a fucking show.
Yes. I get that. Like if you agree to perform live, you need to perform live, and this is what this barely even qualifies as that.
No,
right?
yeah,
My thing is that like I don't think like that mindset of like Frank just because I agree with you. I agree with your position 100%. Frank just makes the music he wants to make when he
Right.
wants to make it. He has
Yeah.
no interest in fame, and I'm like, well, I don't think there's anything wrong with that base modus operandi. I
no,
think like when
yeah,
you take money for Coachella and then expect everyone to buy $600 tickets
Right.
and hotels and planes to get there,
Yep.
okay, now we're talking about there's some expectations you got to live up to, right? I just think like I don't want to demonize that thing, like
sure,
that way of living, because
yeah,
I think there's nothing wrong with it. As a matter of fact, I think it's probably the healthiest way to deal with this stuff. But then again,
Mm.
like there are plenty of artists who are a little bit more, I don't know, like reclusive, but when they come out, they do a good job.
yeah. There's nothing wrong with wanting to live privately and making the
Yeah,
music that you want to make as true to your vision, but to have a live show that
yeah,
feels like a grift is
yeah,
not the way to go.
yeah.
Like,
Oh,
yeah, I'm just super disappointed with so much
yeah.
about this.
Oh,
Like,
and if you want,
You're with everyone else.
I feel
yeah,
like the only excuse for this kind of concert would be if it was free.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
like
mean,
if
Yeah.
yeah, like if someone was like, "Hey, it's gonna be super hard to get tickets, but if you go on this website, you can get free Frank Ocean tickets." Then it's like, okay,
It'll be streamed for free.
well, yeah, like
that's the other
If
thing.
you
yeah,
streamed it.
yeah,
That's the other thing.
the lack of streaming.
Right.
My
What?
question is, do, do you think he did not do the stream because he thought it was going to be a disaster, or do you think it is just part of his?
I think it's
Fuck
the
you.
Mystique bullshit. I think it's the
Dude,
Mystique bullshit.
Which makes
I've
it so much worse in my opinion.
I definitely think Frank made the decision.
Yes.
Oh, for sure.
That is everything I have heard is that Frank made the decision.
Yes.
I gotta know.
I think either way, it's bullshit. To be
What
honest with you,
fucking idiot who wrote this contract gave artists the option to opt out of the streaming that everybody else did? Like, seriously.
I don't. Yeah, no, I don't have any idea how they would allow that.
Yeah,
It's
no, that
and
doesn't
it's
make
just
sense.
to me
I know
that
they
is
owed YouTube so much money. I know they owed YouTube so much money.
Yeah, no.
How was that allowed?
That
It's
to me
insane.
feels like the
he's the
biggest
single
middle finger
most
to the fans.
yeah. He is the single most like headlining artist that Coachella's had in years. Like
Yeah.
the one that people are the most excited for. And for him being the big fish to be able to just pull out like that at the last second for no discernible reason, like there's got to be some kind of contractual
No.
updates going forward to prevent shit like that from happening again because it's disgraceful. It makes a mockery of the festival.
No.
I'm wondering, just curious, in terms of like how long we've been following Coachella. Is this probably one of the worst? Maybe top 3
I'm hearing people say this is the worst headlining set in modern music
Ever.
festival history.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it feels like everything else in 2023 where it's overpriced and it's basically if it's not overpriced, it's a scam. Like it's just par for the course for like the quality of everything post pandemic with inflation and
I
everything
don't
else. It's
know.
like a
I-
reflection
But
of how
this
we're
is
living
so
right
much
now.
worse
This
than
is so
like
much-
what we're seeing now.
We saw J. Cole
For
at
sure.
at least get a-
Lollapalooza last
yeah.
year. It was not this. Like,
It was insane.
Oh,
We
and
at
that's
least get
valid.
a-
Yeah, you're gonna get good experiences. What I'm saying is like this set, the way this played out feels like a reflection of what it's like to just live in this like period. I
late
guess
capitalism.
late
Just in general.
stage, like
yeah.
price increases and all that other
Yeah,
BS.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ticketmaster, yada yada yada.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, and I just wanted to leave this on a closing note because
I think we're all in agreement here that this is like unacceptable.
Well,
Feels
yeah,
like a pretty big middle finger to the fans specifically, in a way that's egregious. You know.
I'm fully in agreement. I feel like a lot of people would agree with you in general. So I'm just curious because we've talked about this before on the podcast, and we've questioned like, do artists owe anything to fans? And on the other angle, do fans owe anything to artists? And obviously, like, I don't know if you want to say morally right, but like the general consensus is like, no, you don't owe anything to anyone as an artist or a fan.
It's just like, where do you draw the line? You know,
That's what I was
'cause,
gonna say,
like,
but like, let's
yeah.
actually talk about it for a second, because
Yeah.
just in general, I was thinking about this to myself earlier, and
no,
like,
this is a relevant time to talk about it. Yeah, this.
it's a
no.
real thing because you have on the other spectrum, like I said, you have Frank Ocean, who hasn't done anything significant or impactful in years, and yet your fan base would die for you. like
It
in
is
reality,
the most loyal fan base.
out there that I can think
Yeah.
of. And once you set that precedent of like, okay, I am now going to give back and I'm going to set a live stream or a concert or whatever, there's so many expectations that you need to realize that you need to hit. And it, like I said, in terms of the other angle, even as fans, sometimes we might be too harsh on an artist.
Yeah.
Like there's so many artists. Eminem has fallen off. Drake has fallen off. They have both given us soundtracks to our lives.
Yeah.
So do we have more sympathy for and honestly never
Yeah.
mind or for whatever? Do you think it's now time to move the line?
Well, I can tell you this much. I can tell you that whatever artist owe fans, it's more than what Frank Ocean gave the crowd at Coachella on Sunday. Right?
Valid.
And I think it's another, and I do think it is a little bit different, right? Because like when I say, I'm going to bring up someone who's kind of like a bit outside of left field, but like when I say like fans make like very unreasonable things about artists, I think about someone like Taylor Swift and Harry Styles, who are berated by their fans like
Yep.
daily about like things like who they're dating and their sexuality. And it's like, no, that's like a clear example of like, no, you're not
Too far.
entitled to that information, right? Like, but like if you pay a $600 Coachella ticket, I think you're entitled to a show. Like, I think you're entitled to 2 hours of effort. Like,
Mhm.
I know it's more than 2 hours to like rehearse and like plan everything, but I think you're, you know, so I think it's where we draw the line, you know?
Yeah. I'm in agreement. Jasper, do you have any thoughts at all?
Yeah, I
Because
mean,
I know you're upset.
yeah, I think this whole thing is bullshit, and I'm so ready for artists to just like behave in a way that is conducive to a good live experience, just in general. Like if we talk about Eat It All, that's what that was. But yeah, I feel like just like with the government, and not that it's in any way the same thing, but an artist and fans kind of have a whole little social contract theory going on, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, yeah, well, you know, you buy my merch and you consume my media, and I give you good media to consume, and I come out and I do my little dance and yada yada yada. And I don't know, this just feels like such a break of that, where it's like not only because it's been such a long time, but because of the fact that obviously a lot of money changed hands for this to happen, and then for it to be really snubbed at the last second, very much feels like that sudden, like a sudden 180 on the contract that Frank would have had with his fans, essentially.
It does.
Mhm.
And
This, this
I
is a
could see
total-
this.
Yeah.
I could see this completely dampening or dampening expectations for a new album of whatever the hell it is. Where it's
Yeah.
like,
I'll say this: like Frank has been my number one artist to see live for years.
He has been
Not-
a move.
Not
anymore, right?
not
Yeah.
anymore.
It's Travis for
Right.
me.
I'll keep it real. Like this is not equivalent to like what happened with Kanye at the end of last year, where it's like I'm gonna
No.
stop listening
Yeah,
to
no,
his music.
it's not that bad.
I'm not gonna stop listening to Blonde because I enjoy Blonde, right?
Sure.
But like, yeah, no, my hype for Frank Ocean as an artist, and frankly, my respect for him has gone,
Exactly.
has taken a tumble, right?
Exactly. So for me personally, I'm no longer like yeah, I'll listen to the existing stuff when I'm not in my feelings about it because I'm fucking irritated.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I'm not excited for new music or whatever is coming next. Like it comes out when it
Which is
comes
so
out,
crazy to
but
say.
but I'm
But it's
not
real.
like, yeah, I'm not like, oh, I can't wait for the next thing, because what's to say that next project isn't going to be just loaded with disrespect like this set was?
No, that's valid. I mean, yeah, no, that is going to be in the back of my mind, right? I'll say this though, right? Is there's no way he releases an album going forward, and I don't think like there's no way it's not in the back of my head that this could be as big of a disaster as the Coachella show,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
However, he gets that if that first album that he puts out isn't a disaster, then it probably goes away.
Sure.
Like
Everything settles.
I probably wouldn't. I'm still probably not breaking my neck to see him live, but I think it's possible it comes out and it's like, oh, his next album's of quality, and it's like, don't get me wrong. I think like a lot of this stuff. I think a lot of this stuff just shows like Frank's honest discontent with his fan base. But I also think a lot of it is probably motivated by just like his demeanor and like his personality. Yeah,
it's like if you cultivate mystique, people are gonna get fucking excited because every little thing you give them feels like so much more than it actually is.
Yeah, and
DHL is not that good of a song.
No,
and yet people were like tripping over themselves when that shit came out.
No, Cayendo though, Cayendo's great.
I mean, Biking is like okay.
Yeah. Like Biking?
It's all right. I mean, it's not like my favorite. It feels like an extra track. It doesn't feel like it has a place on like a project.
Another song I'm very disappointed that he didn't sing was Chanel. I love Chanel.
Chanel would have banged.
I think he did a remix. I'm not joking. Yeah. I think he did a remix. Hold on.
For me,
because I posted all the songs he did.
Yeah.
For me, the fact that Swim Good did not make this list is travesty.
Yeah.
He showed the car. The car was in the promotional materials. Do more than 2 songs off of Nostalgia Ultra, man, please. Yeah. But yeah,
he did Chanel, by the way. I just double checked, but it was a remix version.
Another thing that I also definitely impacted my feelings on this. I've brought it up before, but I have a close friend who works in the industry as far as like live music event planning and just event planning in general and logistics. And it takes like hundreds, if not thousands of people and tens of thousands of hours to put stuff on like this. And for him to suddenly scrap what was, I'm sure, months of work and planning at the last second to make to put on a half baked show that he wasn't passionate about delivering in the first place.
Oh, I would have been mad. Oh, I would have been mad.
That's absolutely nothing but a fuck you to the actual working human beings who have to bust their ass to like get everything.
Exactly. And so many of these people who work in this industry rely on like you're only as good as your last event, pretty much, right? Where it's like you can go to somebody and say, I did this activation for this brand, I did this thing for this group, whatever. And like these people who probably spent months, and they got paid for it, sure, but they spent months of their time working on this project to have it be scrapped and not have like a finished result that like made headlines in a positive way. For them to say like, yeah, I spent 4 months working on an ice rink for Coachella that like didn't happen.
It sucks for those people because
there's no words for those people. Yeah.
No. The only thing is that I think everyone knows how big of a disaster this was.
There's no hiding it. It's tough.
All right. Do we want to talk about Yeet for a couple minutes?
Yeah, let's talk about something positive. We've had AI and we've had Frank Ocean. Everything's been sad.
So you guys went to go see Yeet. Let's talk about a live performance that doesn't make us all cry and scream and cry.
Yes, I'll be glad to talk about Yeet.
So I did not go because I have probably listened to Yeet actively more than anyone else who is probably not a fan.
Mm-hmm.
And I have my criticisms of him, but here's the thing, right? I think he hits that hype energy really, really hard. I think one of the reasons why I'm not a big fan of his is because like when you listen to it like through the album, like in my earbuds, like when I'm working or playing a game or whatever, just kind of all feels the same. But I can see that hitting really hard live. Right? Mm-hmm. I think a lot of my criticism of Yeet as an artist, like as a recording artist, I don't know where Jasper went.
We good.
Basically, my point is, I think a lot of the valid criticisms I have of Yeet as a recording artist do evaporate in the context of a live show.
Right.
And I wanted to know, is that the case?
I think I would agree with that because I know we've kind of talked about Yeet a little bit before the concert and how some of the issues with the album when you have all of your music sounding the same, all of it being hype.
Yeah.
And
it's like a very specific.
Right.
You know, it's not like I've only heard Die Lit from Playboy Carti. Playboy Cardi is like he's fairly dynamic. He is very like one note in a way, but Yeet is like hyper
It,
focused on a specific tone, a specific vibe, right?
right.
And
Mm,
I will say he has, I think, maybe one song that's not super lit, and it's his most popular song.
Which one is that?
Out the way,
no,
Okay.
because that
I
one's
mean,
pretty low key. That one's got the Lyrical Lemonade video where everything's like falling.
no,
I would believe it honestly in terms of how it translates to like
the
a live
stage,
performance.
yeah,
The energy was crazy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, and honestly, for me personally, that's what made the show. I went to Yeet. Jasper's actually the one that invited me to go. Obviously, I heard all his music. I enjoyed what I had so far. So I was like, let me go see it live. And like, not that he was bad in any sense. He actually, speaking on what we were speaking about earlier, he does do a lot of ad libs. He doesn't really rap all of the lyrics necessarily, but it wasn't even about him at one point. It was about the crowd. Like,
Yes.
yeah.
just seeing everyone there go crazy underneath that same type of music.
I've seen videos
It is
of him
insane.
performing live before we did this. I'm like, I mean, you can't say he's not putting in effort. Like that.
Oh yeah,
I think that's
he was.
I
good
think
stage
that's a
presence.
clear thing, right? I definitely think he has like a stage presence,
Yes.
and like he's putting on a show, right?
The
He
fact,
he is doing the exact thing that I think Frank Ocean didn't.
the fact that he is willing to wear a full face mask for the entire hour and
That's-
20 minutes that he's up there is more
Yeah.
dedication than was
discipline.
put into that entire Frank set.
that's discipline.
Like a full balaclava.
My one question for you guys that might come across a little critical
Okay.
is: were there any moments of the concert that weren't hype? Because, granted, like my experience with Yeet is somewhat limited, but to me, it does feel like going to a Yeet concert and being like, "Oh, it was so hype," is almost like going to a Metallica concert and being like, "Oh, it was so loud," and it was like, yeah, like. That's
Hey
what
now.
it is.
The obvious
Hey
happened.
now.
Yeah,
Fade to Black has a calm intro.
Fade to Black is one of my favorite songs of all time. You will put
I love that song.
respect on its name. But
No, I love that. That's what
yeah,
I'm saying. It's like
but
it's got
like,
that kind of dynamic lead up into the chorus.
just because it's clean doesn't mean it's quiet.
Fair.
Like,
I mean, in
but
terms
like,
of even you saying,
and like, look, I do think like cards on the table. I think like that kind of, if there's any idiosyncratic sound you could have that can carry a live show, that's it. But I'm asking, like, were there any dynamics to it?
Yeah, I think there were. I mean, there were songs that were definitely, I think, a little less popular that may have been in the same vein energetically, but because the crowd didn't either know them as well or didn't resonate with them as much, it created lulls. So there were times for that. And the other thing that is a benefit is that a lot of other rap shows, he's only doing like maybe half the song in terms of like actual time length before it transitions into something else, or they do a cut and they like
Yeah, he's not doing full cuts like Jid and
talk to the
Smino.
crowd. No, yeah, it's
But
very, it's very different.
I would definitely say like I would give someone like Yeet like plenty of leeway on that. Like,
oh no, for sure.
especially if he's putting in the work that it seems like he is.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so fuck, I had something I wanted to say but it disappeared completely. So go on, Jasper.
I was just gonna say that, like, yeah, the fact that the songs are cut up a little bit, mixed with
help.
mixed with the fact that there is
No.
like a sprinkling of songs that people don't know as well, means that there are dynamics for the crowd. It's not just like full rage fest the entire time.
Yeah,
that's totally fair because like I would say the music is the most important part of a live show, but it's not the only part. Like there are other aspects that can be more that you can use to bring dynamics into the performance, and I think that's a great example.
Yeah, I think there needs to
Is
be a
that-
certain level of energy aside from just the music being performed.
'Cause, like, it
and
can't-
it varies.
Yeah, because anything that's like going like a certain vibe and like just hitting that like that's just gonna turn into noise eventually, right? So you want to make sure there's like some kind of like deviation, and like doing that with the crowd is gonna accomplish that.
Yep.
So
it gives people enough time also to like
catch their breath.
catch their breath because, like you said, just like you said, there's lulls within the concert. There was one point where some guy, don't know who it was next to me, and like I personally didn't know the song, but to be fair, I may not have known like half the lyrics at the concert.
Yeah.
Um, but like everyone else there, like dies by it, and even he was like, "Man, he needs to play some more beat." And as soon as he said that, it cut, and everyone was like, "Let's go!" And so like it has to work within that kind of dynamic. We're like, okay,
Yeah.
let's relax. And also on top of that, just in terms of like safety reasons, because it's becoming much more real due to Astroworld. But like
The
the
please move back sign.
Yeah.
it's serious how like you have to give people a
Yeah, no.
warning and a second to gather themselves because we started off in the back and we were not trying to make it to the front. By the end of the concert, we were literally like almost front row
20
because
feet
the
away.
people in the front had to like cycle
Yeah.
Yep.
No,
to the back to like
that
get air.
very similar thing that happened at MyChem. The only thing is that like MyChem was like a field of like,
Right.
Aragon Ballroom's I think like 5,000 people.
Yeah.
Riot
Mhm.
Fest is like 30. Like
Yep.
so it's much larger. And
Yeah.
but like that just seems to be a nature of the beast kind of, especially in artists like that.
It was
Yeah.
I will say I learned from that concert that I must know at least like 80% of the artist songs
Yeah, no, it's
for
always
like
very
future
awkward.
concert.
I mean, it's happened to me a bunch of times where I just don't know every word.
Yeah.
But like then you just kind of have to like listen. Like
It gets so tough for me because like
And-
you said, he's going to do the most recent album
Yeah.
as well. So it actually was hard for me to decipher because like obviously most of these are TikTok songs. So I recognize the most trendy part. Because it's so blended together, I sometimes miss like the trendy part of like the song. So like it just kind of like melts together for me.
Yeah.
And like if I know the actual songs, it gives me an opportunity to like decipher between what's what.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I recognize that. I definitely feel that. Especially like someone like him where it's just like it's going to be going and it's going to just be hitting that sound. Like getting breaks within the performance is definitely going to be for the best of everyone involved.
Hmm.
Now,
Yeah.
how long did he perform?
It was like an hour and 10,
Yeah, it wasn't long, believe it or not.
Really?
but
It
for
was a
an
perfect
artist,
length in my opinion. But like
Yeah,
it
no,
didn't
for
I
an
feel
know.
artist
long.
with a lesser, I think, variance in terms or like a lesser variety in terms of the kind of tracks that they make.
He's just
That's-
not as dynamic.
I was expecting it to go on for less. I was expecting 40 minutes.
You know,
Yeah, no,
When I,
mean,
saw
I-
Cardi, it was like that was like an hour, and that was like most of Whole Lotta Red.
yeah.
So
mhm. I don't know. The Argon this time wasn't as good in my opinion.
Really?
Like once you get
Go into
inside, the
that.
energy was nice. The energy was dope once we
Because
got in.
I
but,
love
like,
the
Yes.
Aragon. I've been there for every different kind of show. And
I don't know. There was an hour wait to get inside, which I mean I get it. That does happen sometimes.
They
That was
were-
like really bizarre. They
were
didn't
doing
have the
heavy
earplugs
screening.
and everything. Yeah,
Yeah.
I wonder why, because
younger crowd. That's
younger
all.
crowd, and also his whole thing is the face mask,
And they don't allow.
and
face
they were like no face coverings,
Yeah.
no face coverings whatsoever.
just
the
because
amount
like
of people that had beanies and they made them roll it down just
the-
to see if it was a balaclava or whatever
no,
it's called.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Just okay. That'll be completely real. It feels like the audience for Jid and Smino might be someone who might be people who typically get scrutinized a little bit more. Like
You think so?
I'd say it was.
Oh
pretty-
no! I know why you're saying that.
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah,
and
I get
yeah,
it.
like
It
you,
was-
you get what I mean.
okay.
Like
It was.
I was
I
thinking
don't-
about
I
the
don't
age
know.
thing. You were talking about the race thing.
yeah, I'm
I
talking.
don't know. I feel like Jid Spino was probably what 60-40 non-white, at least
Oh, I would say
I
it was
don't
like 70-30.
remember. Yeah.
70-30. Okay, because I feel like it was like 50-50 non-white for this one. I saw a lot of kids there
a
who
lot
were.
more than I thought.
I saw
That's
a lot
a lot
of
more
kids there who were
diverse than
like,
I thought it would be.
I saw a lot of
think it
Latino
was
kids,
like
a lot of other people.
yeah.
Yeah.
I will say it was 50-50, but saying it's 50-50 doesn't mean much because they all come from the same areas. I feel like in terms
Valid.
of
To me, like, do you know who I thought he was gonna have a very
white, black, Hispanic on the podcast, all
Yeah.
kind of similar
yeah no
upbringings.
Suburbs, motherfucker. No, I'm kidding. No suburbs here.
yeah yeah, you know who I thought he was gonna have a very similar audience to is Brockhampton.
Yeah. That's
Like,
what I
in
was bringing up
terms of,
before
like,
as well.
age, like, and like, yeah, like he definitely has a much younger crowd.
We
And,
were
like,
the old people.
yeah, no,
We
there's
were,
yeah. So that's another reason why I didn't go. I'm 30. I don't need to be. At
There was this one guy who started talking to Purvis who was definitely like 35. It was like him and his wife or something were there, and we were like in the crowd, and I think they could tell that we were older, and they like started talking to Purvis.
I just don't understand. People always come up to
They
me.
always do.
It's always me, bro.
They
Like,
always do.
why?
You're just so
just-
friendly and approachable.
You
I'm
just have
literally just standing
big-
there. I
big
have like
pastor
the
son.
meanest face.
They also need to prove to the world and themselves that they're
That
not
is true.
racist.
Dude,
Valid.
I am a big black grizzly man. Like, why do you want to come up to talk to me?
Me, I grew a beard so people stop talking to me. Like, I'm trying to develop an accent. I just don't know which one would be most effective. I think I'm
Go
going
for Irish. People
I think
will
I'm
love
going Middle Eastern. Like,
it. Oh no!
In America, that's a great idea.
yeah,
Canceled.
like,
Wait, we gotta stop.
hey, Habibi,
we gotta
like-
stop before we.
Immediately.
This was the first episode. There was no revolution. We didn't dive off a cliff.
The other day, I'm not
we
on-
have to end on the right note.
I'm not on Twitter anymore, so if I ever think of like a really unhinged tweet, I just send it to my girlfriend. And like yesterday, I'm like, I have a banger tweet. It's like, yeah, I'm something of a secular Islamist. It's like calls friends Habibi. Like,
So
Like-
I do something extremely similar with my girlfriend, except a lot of times it's about like sexuality because
Mhm.
I'm a straight white guy and she is bi, and so or like queer, and so I'm like, you should tweet this, and I sent her some stupid tweet that I thought up where it's like a pun about. Oh, one of the ones that I had was like, we shouldn't allow children to see drag shows because it sets the expectation that people tip well.
hmm,
Like shit like that.
that's funny.
Okay,
That's
yeah,
funny.
That's a good one.
It's like, I just don't think they should be doing drag races inside. Like, how could they even fit the track in? And I don't think people should be concerned with methane.
That's the accent. That's the
Yeah,
accent
like-
you have to go for right there.
That's the only accent I could do. I call it Union Guy. Like,
It reminds me of
Union guy.
It reminds me
I'm
of SpongeBob.
Union Guy. Like,
What are they selling? Chocolate.
that's like the voice I look like I should have. Like,
Copyright strike from Nickelodeon.
yeah. Oh, so I just want to wrap it up. Like, would you guys like give this show like a grade? Like,
Okay.
or do you think like maybe that's a little passe with shows? I don't know. I don't know what you guys think.
I mean, we normally give grades to things. We can do
Yeah,
a grade.
I feel like shows are gradable.
Yeah.
The only problem is kind of like albums. I feel like it changes over time.
Yeah. And the thing
In the
about shows,
in the moment, like
yeah,
it
the
was
thing about
solid.
shows is that like the memories you make from it are sometimes completely independent from, and that's
Yeah.
what you take with you, right? The show is really only there in the moment.
So Frank Ocean was an F.
Oh,
I would-
I'd
yeah,
have to
no,
go to
I'd
bed
give
to
him
tell you
that.
that.
I'd give him an F.
Okay.
Yeah, I would.
F is
I
for
would-
Frank Ocean.
Oh my
F is
God,
for
that's the
Frank
name of the episode. Like,
No, I think it should still be the real clickbaity Frank Ocean mid exclamation point
No.
question mark with like the all caps
no,
mid.
F is for Frank Ocean. Has to be.
That could be the thumbnail.
It's got to be like a close up
Big
thumbnail. Like,
brain,
oh
All
no!
capital letters.
Everyone do a YouTube thumbnail face.
All right, I'm expecting you to zoom in on yourself
I'm gonna
specifically
do it
with
on
that.
you. You just did it. If you want Vito over the thumbnails, do them. Like,
I bet.
Oh
Okay.
my God. So what
Um,
grades you guys give Yeet? Yeah, we all give Frank Ocean enough. Like,
It's probably enough. Yeet, I'll give Yeet like a B plus, just
Ah,
because
I
I
would
feel like
say-
I don't know him enough, but the energy was great.
yeah.
His
B
presence
plus-
was great.
B plus or A minus. He actually performed for like a decent length of time. He
Yeah, no, an hour's a lot for that. Like,
yeah.
I would say like he's young, like, but yeah, no, I think for that kind of music, I just think like it gets old. Like an hour and a half of that sounds like torture.
Dude, he's younger than all of us. That's insane.
I know
Yeah.
he is. I
Yeah.
know. I don't like looking at stars younger than me because I question what I was doing at the age. I was doing nothing.
Yeah, me
So
too.
I'll tell you what I was doing at this age. I was funding loans.
Yeah.
But yeah, super solid. I'd say like B plus, A minus, somewhere in there. Just like for what he has to work with, he did a lot. I think the graphics also
That's a
were
good point.
really
That's a
great.
good point. Yeah.
All of the imagery was awesome. Like really nice set design. Just like simple
That's
show.
actually very nice. Yeah.
He didn't rely on an opener and he didn't bring anybody out. He didn't need to. He fucking made everybody jump up and down. That was his thing.
All right.
That's all we needed.
Yeah.
Should we do recommendations?
Let's do recommendations. I told you guys in the thing that one of mine is a little bit. Do you think that should go first or last?
It's up to you.
I'm asking you guys. I was like, I don't know.
We can save it for last. We'll end the podcast on your
Okay,
little
cool.
bit.
Okay, cool. I think you guys are gonna enjoy it. Like,
Okay. Well, I'm ready
okay,
then.
go, do your thing.
The first one, I'm going to do Black Party, a song called More Than You Know. Absolutely phenomenal song. I highly recommend it. I don't have any crazy backstory to it. It just came off my shuffle list, and I think it's really good.
Hell yeah.
Jasper?
I am gonna go with. Let's see. My first one is gonna be Encore by Digitalism, and it's a sweet, fully instrumental. I guess it's it's an EDM. I would say like solidly EDM, not really dubstep, but like just nicely in the kind of like instrumental. I don't even know if it's really house, but yeah, it's just a solid EDM track. I really like it a lot. I've been listening to it for a long time. It's part of a like a soundtrack that I got familiar with, so I really enjoy it. Probably now 10 years or so, and I keep coming back to it. So
Interesting.
All right.
All right.
Might have to check that out.
All right. So my first one, Purvis, like you, the soundtrack to the last year of my life has been Griselda.
Yeah.
And this song came on just shuffle the other day, and like I was laying, like my head in Rachel's lap, like reading a book and like smoking a joint, and Vogue cover by West Side Gun and Stove God Cooks came on, and I was just like, I'm recommending Vogue cover by West Side Gun and Stove God Cooks.
I just know you were.
I felt like I was
in that moment. You were at peace.
I felt
in
like
that
I
moment.
was in like if we got hired to like remake The Sopranos, that would be like a scene in it. It was. I was like, this is my life, and it's incredible.
I appreciate that. I actually like that.
Put the work on the Vogue cover. That's West Side Gun's entire thing, right there. So efficient. Like
it's all we need in life. Let's be honest.
That efficiency.
Well, he's coming out with some. Oh, I didn't even mention it. I think he's coming out with some this year. In the summer.
Yeah, he said it's gonna be his like last thing. He said he's retiring, but we'll see.
Please no, Jesus Christ.
No, West Side, we need you.
What I'll do then, my second song, I finally got around to the most recent release of Mac Miller's discography. When the estate put on "I Love Life, Thank You," the song, "The Scoop of Heaven" on Heaven, I think is a really great song. It's a really dope interpretation of like how he kind of views death and the afterlife and things like that. And I love discovering some more Mac Miller that I just missed in the past.
Mac Miller, man, one of the greats.
One of the greats, absolutely. Jasper?
My next one is going to be Whole Lotta Lovin' by Mustard featuring Travis Scott. And this song is one of those where it's a really, really rare occurrence where Travis is featured on a song that he doesn't completely take over.
Yeah.
So
very true.
I don't know if are you both familiar with this one?
I'm looking at it right now. I haven't heard this before, which is surprising.
It's dope. It's also like a very kind of EDM style song, and he just does all the lyrics for it, and it sounds really good. Like I really, really enjoy his kind of little auto-tune bit on there. Super solid.
I'm listening right now. He sounds like Future.
I
It's
could see that.
interesting putting it over the beat though.
Yeah,
Like the actual
when you go to
EDM.
the chorus where it builds up and then does
Yeah.
it does like a cascading down, like the chorus. It's really nice.
But all right.
All right. Time for my little bit. Okay, so
All right, let's hear it.
okay, so needless to say, I'm having a bit of an existential crisis about like about the thing I do that helps me define who I am, which is writing, right? And I know I harp a lot on this show about like well written songs, and I thought like, okay, what I want to avoid is falling into the trap of just calling things I like well written. So I wanted to like
Okay.
have a series of like a way to like process it out, right? And I didn't want to think about it in terms of like a rubric because that's just not how my brain works. So I instead thought of it almost as like essay prompts. And I kind of have
Okay.
three, right? And I think like if you can digest all of these, like you can kind of arrive at your feelings on how well this song is written. And I think one, you start off like, what's the point of view, the big idea, the concept? Like, what is the song about? What's the point, right?
Okay.
And then on the other hand, there's how is this song? How are the lyrics functioning like as poetry, like on a surface level? Like how are they, how lyrical are they? Because they're lyrics after all. Like they're meant to work with music. On this surface level, how are they functioning?
Okay.
And then finally, how do these two things relate to each other? And do they make it stronger or not? Right? So it's just like these three criteria. So obviously it's very subjective. Everyone's going to have different opinions on what these kind of be. But I think like this is a good way to like boil it down, right? So I'm thinking about this, and I've been thinking about this for the last few weeks. And I'm hit with a song, and I gotta say, I think this, in the decade it was released, is probably the best written song released.
Okay.
And I think if you put it through this test, like, I think it holds up. So I want to recommend The Weeknd by SZA.
Interesting.
Yeah, no, because like
I did not expect that.
Yeah, no, because think about it. Like, there's the big concept, right? It's about it's about being the other woman. It's about approaching the woman in a relationship, right? It's about this kind of thing that is such a cultural thing that happens, infidelity, that like everyone has a touchstone for it.
Mm-hmm.
And then like you listen to it, it's like poetry, right? Like the lyrics on like a lyrical level are sublime, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is why it's an interesting one to like bring up with the writing test, because there's the third question, right? How does the concept and the lyrics like work together to like reinforce each other? And the thing is, I don't like, is it ironic? Is it detached? Is it like doing something? And the thing about this song is I don't think she is doing anything. I think it's very direct, right? I don't think she is like playing with like the relationship between the lyrics and the concept. I think it's very direct. And what I think that accomplishes is a sense of intimacy, which clearly like would reinforce the concept that she's talking about, right? So just revisiting this song, this whole album was just a treat. Jasper brought up a Travis Scott feature. This album has the best Travis Scott feature. Love Galore is the best Travis Scott feature
of all time.
So
I'd say it's up there with Take What You Want.
Take What You Want is very good. I'll give him that, but debatably not the best feature on that song.
On that album?
On that song, I think Ozzy Osbourne really actually pulled it out.
Sure.
Like I was very skeptical of that combination of artists, and
it worked.
It worked. I like that song way more than I ever should, because I'm not a big Post Malone fan. I think Ozzy Osbourne's overrated, and I like Travis Scott a lot, but I'm not generally a fan of his features.
Yeah, I definitely prefer his pre-Malone era.
Yeah, but yeah, no. So that's The Weeknd, and like I think, this is.
It's interesting the way you broke it down, because I'm thinking about it now. I've been listening to it, and in terms of the third prompt or the third part that you said, it does feed into each other. Like
it does.
The actual purpose and message of the
song.
Like,
look, it's very simple. It's very simple. It's very direct. It's not something very flashy, but it works. And like obviously, like we're in a genre. You know, last week I recommended 6 foot, 7 foot. It's not really a concept to that, but like we can also talk about how like genre expectations would affect this. You know, this is just like my personal way of working out my feelings on how something is written. But this is the process I go to because like I want to be conscious of my own biases.
No, I understand that. I'll honestly going forward, like listening to certain songs, at least for the next week, I'm gonna think about the prop and actually like consider if it's a good song.
I can write it down in the doc if you want.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it does work very not to diminish this song or anything like that, but it does work very easily for this song because like it sounds like a poem.
Yeah.
And like a lot of times when you read a poem, it's very centered around love and things like that.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it
and
does
like,
work.
I think the thing is, it also has that unique concept. I think it's a take on it, like a take on that kind of story that I think was revolutionary at the time.
For sure.
Yeah. And speaking of lyrics that I'm very excited about, next week we're celebrating our 1,000.
Oh, yeah. We are. Is this the teaser to next week?
Yeah, we're going to be doing Run the Jewels too. In my top
that's the one you decided, the second one?
Yeah, Run the Jewels too. 100%. I would say if you have the time, if you're interested, also listen to Run the Jewels 1 at least once, but not necessary.
I'm probably gonna listen to all 4.
Yeah, and do one thing I do ask: do one listen where you're reading the lyrics alongside it because it's dense.
Okay.
It's an album that like I'm still parsing apart like some of the lyrics to it, so I feel like if we're gonna give it its due in a week.
I think hip hop. The lyrics matter.
Yeah. Well, this one specifically, I think this is probably going to be the most lyric focused album we've covered since Forever Story.
Get Mad City or something.
I was going to say Forever Story or Mr. Morale.
Okay, fair enough.
I would say they're about Jid's like as lyrical as these guys.
For sure.
Yeah, I would say. So yeah, hell of a show. Wow.
We've made it. We got through everything.
2.5 hours.
We did do a 420 bit.
Yeah, no, we didn't. Well, that's because Frank had to destroy his entire career.
Yeah.
Like, if Frank would have just...
That was his fault.
And that's really the thing he robbed us of. He robbed us of the first Unpaid Nobody's 420 special. I guess next year we'll actually be releasing on 420. So...
It's probably will be when he'll actually drop an album.
Don't hold your breath.
Yeah, don't.
Anyway, yeah, no, we're done.
I will get Winds of Winter before we get.
And on that note,
good night, everybody.
Bye.